The video thing.
Type in camera in the search box. See that search box on the bottom? Type in camera. And then open that app and see if it's detected. That could be off. Let's try that. Turn it on.
You know, we should try the idea. No.
I don't know which is the power button. I don't see any lit up LED. Anyone know how to interpret this remote?
Yeah. Like the wash up light, just go all the no words.
I mean, I can hop up on a ladder.
I'll take that. I guess that's a good thing. Never turn it on. Do we have to have a camera? No. It would just be recorded. Well, they're like public hearings. You don't have to have a camera, but somebody would like to see the map on the. We're on this. But it's not required. What was?
Start video.
No, what would you bend over?
The camera's on.
Camera's off.
Yeah, the camera's on.
Well, I pressed every button, so.
You got multiple windows open. Is there a ladder in here?
Yeah. That's just.
That's what I just did.
Yeah, they're not, I mean, they look stupid. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, you also don't get it on. Probably can put this on. I didn't really look.
No, Jerry, I think you just need to get that. Okay, I pressed every button.
It's recording, it's recording sound. Right. Yeah.
All right, I'll make this. All right, we're not gonna have a camera because we can't figure out how to turn on the camera. So I made a command decision. We're just gonna go with it. And if we get in trouble, we get in trouble.
Well, no.
You
No,
won't go
don't
to
say
jail.
that, but.
You won't go to- you won't go to jail. Unfortunately, sound is working. Is sound working? Before I say that.
It seems to be.
Yeah, the thing's going up.
Yeah. You can put a note in the chat.
There are 3 people.
No,
No,
she
2
has a
people.
plan. If you want to do that.
There, what?
Like do a, she has a screen PDF plan on.
Nicole.
Who are you writing to? Start.
You have an outlet. You bring the cord.
You have an indicator light on the battery?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, can I send you me out in the parking lot?
Because it doesn't cover. There's one person watching us, it may be me.
Where it says there's two people.
That's on Zoom, I'm talking about on YouTube.
This is.
Okay, there is sound on YouTube.
Okay.
So.
So we don't have Zoom.
I don't know. If it's
We don't need video. If we don't need it, we don't need it.
All right, we're going.
Yep.
All right,
Remember when there was.
call to order the meeting of Town of Rochester Planning Board. Sorry for the delay. Whoever is listening to us, we don't have picture connectivity. Apologize, the computer or something is not cooperating, so we're gonna go forward. Can't wait any longer. All rise, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Nicole, would you do the roll call, please?
Chair Jones,
Here.
Mr. Finsky,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Ms. Lindstrom, Mr. Zarowski,
Here.
Mr. Grasso,
Here.
Mr. Jarvis,
Here.
Ms. Maloney. Polnap Secretary here, and Attorney for the town, Mary Lou Christiana, present.
Okay, any announcements? Training
Um,
announcements or?
No training announcements. We just have to usually make a decision regarding the workshop.
Workshop.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave the workshop as it is for now. Sam, you mentioned the possibility of
There's a request for lead agency referral that I don't think we've actually received yet, but it exists.
Yeah, and the
And the
30 days.
30-day
will-
timeline is like 30 days from Thursday, last Thursday.
Well, if they haven't sent it yet, it's not.
I find.
Until they send it, but it's
dates-
likely to be between
Yeah.
now and our next meeting, so that would make sense.
Okay, so I'm gonna, we may need a meeting to go through that as soon as we get that announcement.
Well, I make a motion that we do a meeting in this only, it is not for any applications that might come in. It is not.
That's fine.
Do you want to wait and see?
Make
Yeah,
it-
you already
we can
have a
make a
meeting
decision later.
scheduled.
It's already scheduled.
It's scheduled.
Scheduled, you
Right,
would
so
have to
you don't-
decide to cancel.
Right, you only need a motion if you're
You
gonna
can just leave
cancel.
it.
Okay.
And you may decide tonight that there's something you want to discuss further, you know, any of these things.
We can, if it's all right with you, Mom, we can leave the motion to the end of the meeting, that the only reason we would have it is if we get this notification that they need a comment on the EEO, or if we wind up wanting to do some projects from tonight, if we want to let them slip or not. Question mark.
No, they're supposed to be just for project.
At this point, you're keeping, right?
Let's just do it for now.
And then
And we
you
can
guys
also,
discuss
we can
later.
always have a spontaneous meeting to cancel like we've done before. If we need to.
We'll wait till you know. I acknowledge what you might be thinking of, and we'll deal with it. at the end. Okay. The first item on the agenda is water petroleum. We have.
How about the
a-
minutes, Rick? Approve the minutes.
Oh, thank you. Approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was the April 11th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 11th meeting.
Do I have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried and so ordered. All right, so now we'll go to the first item. Lucky Petroleum. And tonight we had a public hearing on Lucky Petroleum. Mary would normally, before a public hearing, we would do the secret. Do we have to do that? Site plan?
No, you have to do it for
subdivision.
subdivision, but I think you guys decided last time, or at our training session, that you wanted to do seeker before
Okay,
open
so
public hearing, so go ahead.
we're going to do the secret. Last time we determined that it was unlisted, uncoordinated, so we didn't have to circulate the lead agency status. And in your Google Drive, there is the part 2 and part 3 was prepared by our consultant. So I'll quickly go through it. If you all have it, you have it up on the screen. Number 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning? No. Or small impact. 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Small impact. 3, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No, or small impact. 4, will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No, or small impact. 5, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No, or small impact. 6, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunity? No, or small impact. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? No, or small. B, public or private wastewater treatment utilities or facilities? No, or small impact. 8, will the proposed action give the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No, or small impact. 9, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, namely wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No, or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No, or small impact. Will the proposed action create a hazard to the environmental resources or human health? No, or small impact. Part 3, only a small impact on the use of the land was noted. No moderate or large impacts were noted in this short form. Proposed action is the construction of a 2,900 square foot retail structure and gasoline pumps on an existing commercial lot with an existing 5,500 square foot commercial structure, former gasoline pumps, and existing driveways, parking area signs, and an existing 2-family residential structure with a separate driveway and parking area. A small impact is anticipated to occur as there will be temporary disturbance during demolition and construction. It will occur in a previously disturbed and developed site. Detailed plans show site development, renovation, and stripping of existing parking areas, striping of existing parking areas with defined pedestrian crossings and a sidewalk along the site's frontage, attractive architecture and improvements to the existing structure's exterior, stabilization and landscaping. And I would like to add, and tell me, Mary Lou, if this is appropriate, and the applicant has agreed that the size of the gas tanks will not increase from current size.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
All right, because this is seeker and
Yeah, that's very.
we made a big deal about that. So Liz, we need to add that. We need to adjust this and add that. And I can't think of anything else. If anybody else, Jillian?
I don't know, significant to environment. You mentioned gasoline pumps. What about the electrical charging?
I don't think we need that in the secret. We're going to talk about that later on after the public hearing. They did put the electric, they're in part of the requirements, with part of the notes. There were 4 added to the plan, so I don't think we need a secret. But the tanks are important. I can't hear you.
Just adding, the applicant has agreed the size of the gas
Yes.
tank shall not be.
Right, what I had said. Okay, so I make a motion that we've determined, based on the information and analysis above, and any supporting documentation, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Oh, wait, I think I have to declare a negative debt.
You did that already.
You
Oh,
do
no, that's what you're doing now.
that? Okay,
This is declaring a negative deck. Negative deck is that there's no significant impact.
got you.
Yeah,
The form doesn't say that, so.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
that's what
does.
it used to say.
They don't, they changed the name.
I checked. the name.
Right, I see that. Okay,
Okay, so.
so I
Chair
made the
Jones
motion.
Makes the motion,
Anybody second?
Mr. Grasso,
More?
seconded, and now we have to do a roll call vote. So, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom, Mr. Grasso.
Yes.
Mr. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mr. Pinsky, Mr. Zarowski,
Yeah.
and Chair Jones.
Yes. All right, so seeker is done, negative declaration. Okay. Now it's time to open up the public hearing. Do we have anybody who signed up for the public hearing?
I didn't have anybody sign up. We can ask if anybody is on the Zoom.
How about the maps on the map? Did you put maps out for the?
The maps are out there
Okay.
for review.
So if there's anybody here who wants to comment during the public hearing, there are maps on the table at the entranceway that you can review, you can continue to review while the public hearing is open. We need to move to open public hearing. Yeah, okay, so the general rules of the public hearing is we'd like to keep it to 5 to 7 minutes worth of comments. If your comments are duplicative of something that's already been commented on, the board is willing to listen to it, but if it's the exact same thing, already noted, but feel free to comment again. I won't be answering any questions, but at the when the board discusses the public hearing as well as some other items on the project, I'll certainly try to address those concerns voiced by the public. The purpose of this is to simply get input from the public about something that we may have forgotten, missed, or that you're aware of that we're not aware of. So is there anybody from the public at this time that
And
wants
when
to?
you say 5 to 7 minutes, that's per person, not
Yes.
for the public, entire public.
Yes.
Sorry.
Anybody from the public like to make a comment about this
Regarding
project?
Lucky Patrol.
Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
If anybody is on the Zoom who'd like to make comment, if you could unmute yourself.
There's a Dave Pinella, and then there's a Dave, just a Dave, so I don't know if that's one and the same. So if either of you are,
I think Dave Pinella is for-
He's from Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay. What do you said?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Now, we don't have the county comments yet, you can close the public hearing.
Thanks, Annie.
thank you for reminding us of that. I will close the public hearing. All right, so we're going to leave the motion to leave the public hearing open until we get until the next meeting, and such time we hopefully have the county comments.
Does that, leaving the public hearing open, does that prevent us from posting a draft opinion?
Well, you have to address the county comments in your draft opinion. If there are any.
Workshop meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Well,
to
the
do.
30 days will certainly be up next week.
Yeah.
The end of this week, so we could do that.
At the workshop meeting.
But,
Okay, keep that in mind.
right,
If we do a workshop meeting, I want to make it specific to what project as opposed to everybody.
you
can
can set
come.
that agenda.
Right. Okay, so let's make sure we do that. Okay. All right, so a motion to leave the public hearing open.
I'll make the
We don't
motion.
have-
Until the
Mary?
June meeting.
I'll second.
Second by Zach to the June meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried, so ordered. Okay, so we have the applicant here, we also have the owner, Mr. Lucky, and have a number of items that I want to review. They should go pretty quickly. Give me 1 second to get all my notes together. So, to talk, and for the board, we did the landscape. That's included in the maps. Nicole, you have the maps.
Yeah, the last communication I have regarding this was the April 13th letter from the town regarding 6 outstanding notes on the project. Number 1 was the signage.
Okay,
We did give the opinion from the attorney and the planner about the size of the signage where we are allowed to look at 10% exception, 35.4, 5, something like that. So we did find a standard side by Valero that's about 32.8, something like that. So it's below what we have. This is shown on the last page. Okay. Back to 32.4 square feet. Almost a 4 by 8 inches sign, single pole. It does not stand more than 15 feet high, which is the standard. So there's nothing there. I mean, it basically complies with some requirements.
Okay,
Right, you guys will have, they requested a waiver, which you have to grant for the 0.8 feet over.
Something like that to cover that 10%.
do
So
we need that already? Come in?
I believe you have it in writing.
They
Yeah,
wrote us a
it's
waiver
in the
request.
In writing.
I make a motion to grant the waiver for the 0.8 centimeters.
10%.
For the 0.8 feet variance
Yeah.
above our code.
I think it's just if you just put the 10% in a lap to do it, that probably.
And that's
You can
fine.
do it up to 10%. So you can
It's
do
within
it
the
in-
10%.
Yeah.
So Mara,
So we
you
don't
okay
even
with-
need a waiver actually, because it's within the 10%.
No, Well,
You just need to
they
grant
can
that.
ask for a waiver to grant up to 10%.
So I make a motion to
Where's the
grant up
reason?
to 10%.
Where's the 10%? It's in the sign.
In the sign
sign
code.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's getting it.
All right,
It's
so
a
we have a
variance
motion,
between
we
square feet.
have a motion on the table, that the motion, if I understand it, is a waiver to go up, to add an additional 10% over the standard. I'll entertain a second. I'll second. Sam, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Can I ask a couple of questions with the sign?
What, wait, about the signage?
Yeah.
We just voted on it.
No, it's nothing, it's not opposing, it's a question. Is there going to be one sign on a plan?
Right now, there's two signs on the
Yeah,
top.
one sign,
One is existing that has on that, that's there, we're not touching that. There's an existing gas station sign that we're taking away and putting a new one in, and that new one is gonna comply with the town.
right, so it's one new sign, right?
One new sign,
And then
one
one
old sign.
replacement sign that's gonna,
Okay.
we're starting with two, and we're ending
And
with
it was just, there's technically no.
two. One of them is gonna comply.
And
We
the
just
one-
left it there, yeah.
10%.
Okay.
Okay, Qatar, keep going. We'll follow.
Okay, so the second thing with the landscaping, so I had a meeting with Chairman Jones, and we went through the landscaping, and thankfully he gave us good insight. We translated that into landscape plan there, and I'm assuming you're all happy with it, so that should take care of it. But landscaping was positioned in a way that if the future sidewalk gets installed, it's not gonna be right. The lighting, we tried the lighting levels that we currently have on the plan is just the best that we can do. It's still within the town requirement, under the canopy, we're allowed up to 20. The hottest spot is about 16, so by the edge of the canopy, it dissipates to 3.4 points, but we're still not doing close to what the allowed is. And this is a 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. These are LED lights that can be on a dimmer, so after 11 o'clock, it can dim down to 50% capacity.
So what Qatar agreed to do is after 11 o'clock, it's gonna go down by 50%.
That sounds perfect.
That's from
And
one
I'll
to the
add
other.
a note to that lighting plan to say after hours.
After hours,
We just have
for
to
those
do
6
them.
hours that you're closed.
We're gonna eventually, we'll need the note on the plan.
It will be on the lighting.
Okay. And as far as what is today, it's within the code, but it's a lot less than the code. I went through the plans with them. It's, as you said, the hottest spots, there's 2 of them, I think, 2 or 3, and it's 16. At the edge of the canopy, it's down to 3, 3.5, 4. And along the edges, there was some concern, Liz, you expressed along the
Yeah.
perimeter.
I mean, yeah, on
And-
the, on the east and west sides, one near the cemetery and the other one near your existing dwellings. And you're so close, but the code says luminance values of less than 1.0 except at site entrances. So it's really only the eastern and western sides of the site that are of any concern. You know, one side is
Oh,
cemetery.
you said 0.1 or 1 point?
Less than
0.1.
1.0. So that's
By
not,
by the
Less than
property
0.1.
line.
what?
By the
Less than
property line.
0.1 at the property line. 0.1, I believe, at the
It
property
is?
line, yes.
Okay, I must be dyslexic.
Qatar, what is it at the property lines?
Maybe.
Majority of it is a 0.1. I just have a couple spots with like 0.2.
And on code says,
With
Point one.
also, you have to know that we did not take in consideration any of the existing vegetation, I blocked that anyway, so.
What's the, right, I guess that one of, so you're saying that by the cemetery, it's whatever the value?
Point one, point two,
Okay, and then, what about, this was a concern.
but that's not a property line.
I know it's not a property line, just, it's, well, that's why,
But it's his one.
okay. The board's okay with that?
Yeah, that's,
All right,
it meets code and it's on their property. They can choose not to.
okay, so we're okay with lighting.
And then, item number 4 was adding the charging station, so we added 4 vehicles, 2 dual charging units.
Okay.
And they're on the map, and then, 5 and 6 was, number 5 was the appropriate Upper County Planning Board, which we did, the comments, and number 6 was the public hearing, which we are in today.
Okay. I just have three or four other things for clarification. First, the board had looked down before. Parking, I know you have a table on there that shows the
Yes.
parking.
So now,
You
if
need to
everybody,
formally ask.
I was gonna say, if everybody is happy with that, we will, we'll give you a letter for this coming meeting to say. this
I
is
think the
officially
requirement was
requested.
57 and 42.
Yes, definitely.
So-
We're very happy with that.
We're very happy with that. We always have too much.
Yeah,
just
just
matter
get
of
us that letter.
formalities.
The crosswalks, you and I talked about this. I think we're okay. There were a lot of comments from CPL about crosswalks. They looked okay to me. Liz, essentially, your comments, they're okay?
They're just technical, saying, just to clarify some, you drawn most of them as ladder style, and then you just need, you know.
Okay, so that's,
That's it, it's
that's a
really a
yes.
technicality, pretty minor.
We
Like
talked
the
about the
size of the
size.
ladder style.
Hang on.
Detail, like,
The white
what else?
lines, or,
I think,
yeah, we normally leave it to the hatching company. They get hired to do all the handicap and all the stuff, so, but I can always research when I put it on.
Yeah, it's just some kind of detail, whatever it is that you have. And I just noticed there were 1 or 2 little places on the sign where whatever you're showing doesn't look the same as what you're showing when you're doing the ladder hatch, you have it called out. That's all.
What-
Very
okay,
minor.
No, give me an example on that. What do you mean? These are all the 1, 2, 3, I got 4.
there's another one between the
Five.
dwelling.
Over there.
Oh, that this
Yeah.
size is not the same, sure.
Yeah, I think when you look, you'll just see that they're basically
and we talked about the size of it,
making.
size of the tank that's taken care of. Sidewalk, we talked about that. That there's going to be a note on the map that says if at any point in time, the municipality requires that sidewalks be provided, and it would probably be a situation with continuous sidewalks on that whole side, that the applicant has agreed to put in sidewalks.
It's there.
It's on the map. Have to notice it. So we'll
Now,
go with
since
that.
we're getting down to the detail of like, you know, the hatch detail. If this.
The what
becomes-
detail?
Like we're the hatch detailed and the paint and all that, if this becomes not a Valero and a Citgo, as far as they are in the same size of the sign, they don't have to come back to that, right?
No.
It's just the outline
Swap
of the
out
sign is
the-
the same, but if they change companies,
The sign can say this is a sign.
I'm just making sure.
And actually, you had a really nice illustration of the sign, so I just suggested in one of my comments. Let's see. To add that illustration of the existing freestanding sign on the plan set. We're all set, then we've got on the, then we go to interchange them, or we have that spec on there.
Okay, those are all the comments I have. Does the board have any other comments?
Nope, I think.
I have none.
I have a question. Should we suggest, based on our past experience with some sites, we didn't comply with one, like,
Bonding for landscaping.
landscaping, yeah. Should we suggest to town board to have a performance bond?
I'm going to turn to the attorney, because there were some qualifications that we've gone through as the with us at one time,
Yeah, I mean,
when we would ask for bonding, so
yeah, this,
speak to us.
we can do site bonding for the land. You know, what we've done with. And I think it's something for you to, really, at your next, doing the decision.
When we do this decision.
Yeah, that can be,
Okay, and what typically is the percentage of, is it a percentage of the total cost, or is it the total cost?
it's usually a total cost.
Total cost.
Plus a percentage. And we usually say, that it's for 1 year to make sure it's there, or, you also will put in that if anything dies, they have to replace it. We have a lot of standard language, right?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
last
It's just, it's all in there. It's in the.
For what, for bond, for landscape? Yeah. Now, just so I understand the process in the town, when the plan board approves the site plan, isn't the building inspector forward the site plan to be done as approved, and then give the CFO based on that?
Yes, you could.
Yes,
be
but
right.
we usually do a bond to make sure it's still living in a year.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's for.
Which is, yeah, which, when they buy that kind of a landscape, I hope they buy it, so they do come warranted for it.
Right,
Right,
so
And
that's,
usually the
so
landscape
we,
guys.
That's what I'm saying.
right, but we usually require a bond for 1 year to make sure we still have living landscaping after a year.
So Mary, can you give them some references to the verbiage of this bonding?
Not off the top of my head.
No, I know that. And do they go to the town board to get it approved? Or
Um,
do we approve that?
That's the other thing,
No,
they
we
say
make
that
it
could
up,
be
you
part of
always
the
have
building
that.
permit.
We make
Right.
it a
on
recommendation.
140,
Yeah, I don't have that. Yeah, it's a bond. It's
Yeah, I
the
don't
common
know.
bond. When what?
it's one, zoning code 140.
Sure, let's search for the common bond.
Between now and the next meeting. I'll
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to sit around and do it. We can get it.
Let's not start moving forward.
So we are gonna
Before you
ask for
lose me.
bonding, but we'll get the details for you between now and then.
140-56.
That sounds good.
Right.
What else, Lorraine? That's it?
Anything else, Lauren?
Okay.
I have one comment that I sort of repeated, and I'm not sure the board cares one way or another about it. It's to outline and label the square footage of the occupancies in the interior of the building.
No.
We know.
Okay.
That's a building.
That's
That's
fine, that's what I needed to know.
Okay,
You're free.
So we're done.
All
what
right.
we're gonna do with the next meeting, assuming that we get the
You
the
need the
referral back
you
from
need-
Ulster
yeah.
County.
Hopefully there's nothing on it significant, you get from us the letter asking for the waiver.
That's-
The notation that the light will be dimmed down, the notation that, I guess you mentioned that day too, that I think this is existing underground tank could be relocated in place by the same size. So it's just like- Other than that, plan should be,
I think we're in pretty good shape.
does that mean I need to submit anything, one more copy and all that, or?
Nice to check them all off.
No.
Whatever remaining comments.
Unless you send it in a
However,
PDF.
I think,
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna bring them in. That way you
So
want
the
it.
final,
You're not gonna sign them unless they have.
Right.
so the final maps that I'll sign need to have all of the
Yeah, exactly.
notations.
That's-
Because all of that can just be a condition of the
I was gonna
approval,
say,
so we
we're
don't need to
that
have all of this
close.
stuff.
we're so close,
Right.
and, we don't know, probably no one will show up at the next public hearing. But if they do, maybe we'll, be
Ask for another
adding
note.
something,
So,
and why have them
and
reproduce
here, and
maps?
you're not gonna sign those maps next meeting, you're just gonna grab the approval, and then
So
you're gonna
it'll
get final
all
maps to sign,
finish.
right?
Exactly.
We're actually not
Can't
going
approve it
to,
next
we're not gonna do the approval of next meeting. That's not gonna get done until
Well, it could be,
July.
It could
You
be
gotta
done
at the
then
June
close the
meeting.
public meeting, and then
it could be done at the June meeting.
Don't we have to
Yes.
wait for the 7 days or whatever that
Okay.
delay is? It
We
depends on
asked that
the
question
workshop.
before. We can have something, because we've already had a couple. We can have something ready enough, so long as it's a workshop meeting, and discuss any county comments. Now, if we get more information, you might say, "Oh, we're not gonna do it." But you can have something anticipating
Okay.
what will happen, but it's not gonna be final until the public hearing's closed and you folks are satisfied.
Can we close the public hearing at a workshop?
Yes,
If we get
but
the-
you've held it open.
Until the June meeting already. We made a
Right,
motion.
you can't, you would have to have the continued public hearing at the workshop. meeting If you were going to close the workshop. meeting.
And we don't do public hearings at
And we-
workshop
we-
meetings. Workshops are
So-
workshopping.
all what I'm looking for that.
You're
I just
looking for
wanna-
June.
I wanna make sure that after the June meeting, he can mobilize, not do it till July.
Hopefully.
That's the hope. It all depends what comes out from the county comments
Yeah.
and from the continued public hearing. So it certainly can't be a promise.
But realistic.
So how are we going, so we could prepare the decision, publish that after the public, after the workshop,
Right, if you know what you're gonna do with the county
close the public hearing at the next meeting and also.
comments. After you open it. Yep, after you
Now,
open it.
one final question, not to take too much time, but the county comments, these could be agreed on or overwritten in a workshop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So at least we'll know if there's anything else.
Yes, yes, if you have
Everything
workshop
else that
meeting,
you-
if you
you
want
add-
them to add anything else.
To the final application.
So
Well,
do we need to be in that workshop?
If there's any issues.
We'll let you know. Because we're not sure yet.
If we're discussing your project, you probably should.
What's the date of that
It
workshop?
would be
May 30th.
8:30.
Right, that's Memorial.
That's Memorial Day. So what's our, we have another day. Another day.
Yes, we did. We changed them. from
Thursday?
Thursday, after Nicole changed from when they hit. The one
However-
in October and the one in Memorial Day.
Did you change it to, which Thursday did you change it to? Because grievance day is the
Thursday,
26th.
the 26th.
That's grievance day.
That's during the day though, right?
I think that's usually 4 to 8. Although I'm not sure.
It's definitely the 26th.
It might have to do it some other.
Yeah, it's in there.
Crossed off. There's no new
No.
date for May as a workshop meeting, it's just crossed off. Meaning we've probably already canceled it.
I have it on my calendar as the 26th. You have it on the
I know.
official schedule
I'm looking at the official schedule.
and it's just crossed off, there's no other date?
Correct. Let me see if I put them all on there.
Can we just set at this meeting, a workshop meeting to take place?
Yes.
All right, so
Well, wait, can we, hold on, so if we're, can we amend the motion to hold the public hearing open, to say, we're holding the public hearing open solely for the receipt? We can't do that.
Hope state will require.
Can we
Can't
set
close
a,
it till after.
and you can only close it at another.
Right,
public hearing.
because
So we can't
depending
schedule
what
it to
they
be
say,
closed a
public
week.
might want to comment on that. That's why you can't close it before. Otherwise, we could
I don't,
close it now pending, receipt.
right, well, that's what I was gonna say,
But
yeah.
no, we're not allowed to do
All right, so
that.
let's go back to
Because
where
the
I was
public
going
may
with this.
want to comment on the county comments.
let's set another meeting for the, another workshop meeting date. Is the 25th?
Nope,
Wednesday?
town board meeting that night.
25th is a Wednesday.
Yep, how about Tuesday, 24th,
What time usually go meeting?
6:30, 24th? There you go.
That's in their schedule, I think, so.
As long as we have a quorum of people, we're gonna do it. Zach, you were right there?
I'm okay with the 24th.
George, yes or no?
No.
Okay, Sam?
I was gonna do a training that night, but yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Or what about, we usually do it Mondays, how about Monday the 23rd? Because you don't need me, which is 2 weeks from now. Because we happen to have 5 Mondays. And
Is the 23rd better for you?
I'm just not sure on the 24th, but whatever's best for you guys. I'll make it work.
No, I need you here.
When will you be here? That week? Okay, the 23rd, then if everybody's
24th.
good for the 24th.
Mark, you good for
I
the
think I can
24th?
do that.
Yes.
So, Aaron? That's it.
Rick, on the schedule, it is, it shows that May 30th is the meeting.
The one that's published on the website.
That's what I have it in my
Yeah.
calendar.
It's
too.
on my list.
Oh, it's always the last.
Because it probably automatically goes to the last Monday of the month, but it's Memorial Day.
You know, and it's-
I'm fine with the 24th, I'm just letting you know. It's
Nothing
not
goes
posted.
automatically on our website.
Patrick, you're all right with the 24th?
Sure.
Okay. I'm okay with 24th. Did you say you were all right with it?
This one, yeah.
24th. I'll entertain a motion to set the workshop meeting for this month.
I make a motion to set the workshop meeting for 24th.
All in favor?
That's it,
Anybody
right?
opposed?
Did nobody second?
Seconded.
Seconded.
Seconded it.
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. All in favor? Anybody opposed? So it's on the 24th. 6:30.
Thank you, thanks.
Okay, that was great.
Thank you all. This is provided for the comment from council.
But I can do it. It's not real hard.
Hang on.
Yeah, I think we have. Or it's a little, could read the assessment.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Gail and Andrew Canada. We have the maps for this.
Somebody roll up the map.
Delivered by Medbot.
That's it. Lucky. Thank you. Do we have the Canada map?
I have them ready. I have them right here. Please, that- The copy, a full size map.
Yeah, right here.
We don't have a copy.
Anybody else need to vote? Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Everybody have the maps open? We had requested at the last meeting that the applicant show the contours on the map. They're shown. We also asked them to rejigger the property lines in order to provide, in order to ensure that the stone fences were not destroyed or potentially destroyed and accessing the lot 2. That was done. And we also indicated to them that it was probably enough road frontage to have 2 driveways, but they chose to have the shared driveway, so that continues to be shown on the shared driveway.
We have a driveway agreement for our lawyer, and I believe he sent a copy to you to look at.
I don't know that I got one, but I think I said we don't need one because we have enough frontage on both. I mean, you guys should have one for sure,
Right, we have that.
but we don't require it because they have adequate frontage on both.
So
I
you
think
know
we
it
had
is
one of the Dawson subdivisions, we had the same.
so you know it is a shared driveway.
We don't need to-
So you're good on the arm.
And then the other thing that we had asked for were the trees, that we there were clumps of trees, just to indicate that they did. The stream, you see that in the back. That's been indicated. And then any barns or sheds or anything that were going to be taken off, to make sure that they were taken off from that. And it looks like all the barns that were there before, or sheds, continue to be there.
One's gone. So one
All right, so we prefer to see it marked there as being there, but to be demolished, but that's fine. You're gonna demolish it. And what we see on the map is what remains, the 2 chicken coops in the shed. Yes. And the barn. Yeah. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, no, I'm not clear, so if there is a 50-foot frontage for the new agreement and show the driveway?
Yeah, because they can put, they're choosing to do that on their own. They can each have a driveway because they have adequate frontage. When somebody has to go through one property, get to another because there's no other way to do it, then we get to agree.
And another comment about the plan, why lot 1 is not solid line?
It is, it's just lighter.
No,
Look at the bottom part of it. Thinner line. As opposed to the
Dotted line is the setback.
Yes, the dotted line.
no,
always
this
is.
is solid line. What
This
is
is solid line to lot 1,
right?
and then the thinner blue line is the lot 2.
But they separate them. So this is lot 2 and this is lot 1. Should be the
You
solid
go,
line.
you go to the lower left of that image, right here, Zion.
This isn't the lot line, it's not
On
a
the
square.
map that you're looking at.
It's a solid
I'm
white
taking-
line.
I'm taking this.
It is solid.
Solid.
No, but it's
It's solid
it's
blue
not-
right there.
Okay, it's not.
It's because it's not a new one. I mean, I agree, it's a minor formatting.
It
Oh,
really
point.
doesn't matter.
So we
land
can-
use decision.
We can.
I'm not
suggest
saying
that
that
they
you
make
see that,
it.
I'm just saying.
There's not a reason for it. It's a syntactical
different
oversight.
Thank you.
So we can ask them to correct it.
Make it. That's
Can
what
they
I'm
make
saying.
all lot lines
That's what I'm
bold?
saying. I'm not saying I'm gonna affect any decision.
Can they
Well,
make
show
all
them
the
the
lot
lot
lines?
line, to
bold,
make this
red?
line dark like this is.
Yes.
We have to find something in that, so.
No, you don't. You
don't really. I mean, we've done everything bad. It is a nitpick, sorry.
Can I make a motion to set up a public hearing for the next regular?
I'll
meeting?
second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, public hearing, set for June.
Thank you.
And will the public meeting be closed after next week? I can't tell.
It
all depends on what the public.
The odds are strong that it'll be closed, because you don't have to get a comment from the county like the other person, that's why we were delayed.
All right.
Have
Well,
the
you're gonna
neighbors-
mail.
Yeah.
They can mail it back.
They're not gonna. So we'll see you.
See you
then.
June ninth. We'll see you June ninth.
Thank you. Thank
May 9th, I think.
Hang on, let me get.
Whatever that second Monday is.
It's gonna be.
There you go.
I see that word once,
I really think that we can do this ourselves. in such a way.
Hey, guys.
Hey, everybody. We cut out the discussion.
we're on a meeting that's just on audio, and people who are trying to listen are probably having a really hard time because there's so many conversations. So let's just follow the chair.
Thank you. Okay, we done? Thank you. You all right? All right.
They were just asking if they need to bring another map with a darker line. I said it'll be a condition. Exactly.
And I only asked whether or not you need to do anything.
No.
for that.
Yes, we will eventually need for you to do a decision,
But not for that.
but not for next, not for next.
Not for that.
Right.
Okay, fine.
Can everybody pass that? It's just so they don't get. shuffled.
Yeah, yeah.
As a parting gift.
The next item on the agenda is Truro Illigan. Or his representative. He joined the vote. We have maps for this.
We have,
No, it's just a
No.
sketch plan, we don't have maps yet.
Yes.
So I think that's the only.
oh, that one's got
No,
more on that. That's not it.
That's
So
not
the
this
next
one.
one.
Except the yellow highlighted.
We're on this one.
You don't have.
We just have that. It's in
No.
the drive.
Okay. All right, John, why don't you tell us what you do?
He's got some.
I know what it looks like. You know what it looks like. Tell us what you do. What?
Let's see what you need. Survey isn't finished yet, so this is all code. Still needs to do test holes, the lines might change.
We need everything required.
All right, so
Everything on the checklist.
you kind of got a gift today by
Yeah.
coming here because the map is pretty incomplete. And the stuff that we normally run on the map is pretty incomplete. But there's, you got this from our,
So
secretary.
contacted me last week, he wasn't able to attend the meeting, I just started the survey.
You don't know a lot. Yeah.
No.
Even on the applicant side, you don't know much.
No.
So we've got a checklist.
I'm a
We'll give to you
placeholder.
today.
Sam, pass that down to him. You got a lot of work to do.
Oh, I know.
I'd also say before you even start, when you look at all of that and you see that there are Army Corps of Engineer wetlands, there's a stream that goes through the middle of it, and then the stream crossing, there is also DEC wetlands. The entire lot practically is what DEC calls a state-regulated wetland check zone. So personally, I think we should probably have someone go out and read
Yeah, that was.
delineate all the wetlands to see if these are really the wetlands. That house in the middle of the field is not gonna be able to go there. It's gonna have to go toward the front because it doesn't fit with 125-22A6, 11, and 12. A6 says areas comprising fields, pastures, and meadows shall be maintained by employing compact clustered residential design and locations at the far edge of open fields. 11, the subdivider should also avoid placing buildings in the middle of open fields. And 12, buildings should be sited close to the road in groups or tucked behind tree lines rather than spreading them out across the landscape in a sprawl pattern. So that house is gonna have to come in.
Yeah, that's kind of a bada bing comment for sure. So that's one thing, that's gotta move. You obviously need driveways, we need contours. It's all in the sheets that I just gave you. There's wetlands up in this corner. I don't know whether they're DEC or ACOE wetlands. There's floodplain, a good portion of this existing property is all floodplain. Got an existing house, but you gotta have it marked. So on the maps you do for us this time, we gotta have overlays. We need contours, we need overlays, we need the overlay of floodplains, we need the overlay of wetlands.
We need everything.
Everything. If there's habitat core,
No, it's
and
all.
you gotta,
No, it's open.
I don't mean to be blunt, but I'm gonna be blunt. You gotta do the homework. We're not doing it for you. We'll tell you what's missing. But you gotta give us a map that we can work with. Like I said, you got a gift for us like you did tonight. But
Also, Mr. Elton.
Can I add, lot 3 and lot 4 are great lots, but they're very close together and they're small. I would love to see a shared driveway between the two of those to have less curb cuts.
Yep.
Lot 3 and 4. Yeah, it seems like it would work.
Yeah, because you're gonna be stacking drive.
Otherwise, you're gonna have a driveway every 100 feet. Otherwise, that was only my additional.
And it needs an ag data statement, and it's on all prime soils, which is why that house is not going in back there, because there could be a fighting chance that somebody buys it at some point and still could farm the back corner of it.
If it's a main stream running through the property. With the buffer.
Anybody else have any comments?
We'll see you in August.
Yeah.
Escrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was them.
So do we have escrow?
No.
Okay, we need, for starters, $1,500. That's the standard. It's gonna cost a lot more than that. I can tell you that by the time you finish. So if you want to make it at least 2,500, fine, but by code, we're required to ask for only 1,500. And after you give us a map that we can work with, then we're gonna get our CPL involved. If I get CPL involved now, she's not gonna be doing anything other than telling you what we just told you. So you got a long way to go. But I'm glad you're here. to discuss it. And welcome, Pilgrim.
Maybe we just got a lot extra. So, I'm wondering if anybody has any feelings about, is this gonna be one lot? And is this?
Yeah.
Is that a town road or is that just?
Yeah,
private
it's
road?
a town road.
And I don't know how the board feels about having, this could possibly be a lot. On
Across
its
the
own?
road, no, it's entire wetlands.
It's entirely what?
It's
okay.
entirely a flood zone,
Fine. That
Army
is
Corps of
very helpful.
Engineer and DEC wetlands.
It was
Fine.
underwater 3 weeks ago.
Fine.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
floating.
If it's an outdoor pool.
Okay.
It's the future side of the Rochester swimming pool.
There you go. Okay.
They wanna-
We're saying
Yeah.
preferably cemeteries are created floodplains.
Okay.
All right, so we just.
So that you don't waste your time, you're not gonna be here for the next meeting. because
Yeah.
What you have to do, you're not gonna get done in 2 weeks, there's more requirement to get the material 2 weeks ahead of our meeting.
Well, especially for the wetlands, someone's gotta go out
Yeah,
there.
it's,
Right, if there's any questions you have, you gotta call us, you gotta call Nicole. And
You
she
can shoot
will,
me an email, John, or call.
and she will
anytime.
get the person who can help you go through what questions you have. Because the next map needs to be almost done, I'm serious.
yeah,
Okay,
that'll help you.
you're done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Good to see you.
No.
All right. Moving on. Okay, the next one is Mount Laurel. Hi.
Hi, Matt Tower, Willing Engineering.
Okay, so you're representing Sweeney? Mr. Sweeney?
Yeah.
We have a letter of, we have a letter of authorization.
Matt,
I'm ready.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Matt Town.
Um,
So you
Everybody everybody have that?
We have one here.
So why don't you tell us what you want to do?
Sure. So it's a 34.27 acre parcel off Green Hill Road in the R5 Rural Conservation Zone District. It's currently completely vacant, wooded. There's some DEC wetlands on the eastern portion of the property. Contacted the DEC, they're going to go out there and delineate them pretty soon. I think Ryan John might have already gone out to survey those. So what we want to do is subdivide parcel into 4 single-family lots. We're thinking of 2 shared driveways right now. Seems to make the most sense with the topography. And it's going to minimize curb cuts along the front. Notice the drawing about 100 feet. That's not on there, just to let you know. Yeah, the reason for the shared driveways is minimize curb cuts. It's relatively steep.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, yeah. Shared driveway portion is proposed to be 16 feet, and then the single driveway is 12. Yeah, we did to minimize disturbance, follow the steep path, avoid excessive grading. Proposing gravel right now, we're looking at putting on in 50-foot right away. It was unclear if we need the road maintenance agreements.
Yes.
We
Well,
will.
on a shared driveway, yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna need 2, actually.
Right.
One for each shared driveway.
Unless we change the design of it.
Unless one, oh, I didn't-
As designed it is, yes. As
Right,
designed,
yeah.
they will need it.
Okay.
Well, hold on,
They
didn't
may
you just say
need
for the
to-
other one, if there's 50 feet of road frontage?
They don't. Those ones in the back.
So these both have, these lots have 50 feet.
Yeah, they have over.
Oh, they do have it back.
But that is, for all intents and purposes, you're creating a massive series of flags that you should, you can
Yeah.
only create one flag. So this has to be
I think
redesigned.
I think in this case, you want them similar to a Kuzak where, we got
Yes.
driveway agreements on those where we told them to share because of topography issues and things like that.
Any consideration of having one?
That's my idea.
One, exactly, one.
Yeah,
Right,
that's-
right,
we-
maybe
we were
not
thinking
do it.
about that.
One axis.
Guys,
One
one
discussion.
conversation at a time.
Perfect.
I have
Yeah.
a point. If you're gonna do shared driveways, you do not need to have the 4 lines coming down from the top. You can just have 2 and then you have, so it gets rid of all of those lot lines coming down. Off.
Okay, so you have landlocked.
So just,
Parcels.
you would have landlocked, but you
Okay.
gotta work, but you
you have an agreement, then you don't need to have all those accesses, so the pointless.
Yeah, that sounds great.
You could also, you're requesting your letters to be treated as a major subdivision. So
That
you
was
could,
another question.
you could just, it's already been classified as that, you could also just do a private road instead of driveways. And I think,
That's what we were saying, we better have a private road.
yeah, it'd be, right, it
One curb
seems,
cut.
it might be a little more, well, I don't know, it would be lower impact, I think, just looking at this lot, to put in a private road.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we're definitely open to that.
I mean, because to your point, this is another one where we hit like everything that we're not supposed to be doing in our subdivision. 125-22A, 7, 8, 11, and 12. 7 is grading. That's for you, Liz. I mean, this is a grading nightmare. I don't even, I mean, I've gone by it to see it, so I don't even know if we can do all of these driveways. We're supposed to limit anything over 15%, and do nothing over 25%, so we don't even know if any of this will work at this point. A8 in 125-22 subdivision design is to protect natural areas and threatened and endangered areas identified in the comp plan or by the applicant's existing resources and site analysis by incorporating them into proposed conservation areas. While this doesn't show up if you do the mapper as having T&E, the next lot over does. And last time I checked in endangered species, they don't stop at a lot line. So it's pretty much, I mean, this is in one of our,
This is all core habitat.
this is
land.
core habitat, 99th percentile best woods. So if we could push these forward, I don't know if we can, only have one road cut. You did a good drawing.
I have a drawing, yeah.
Personally would get rid of number 3 and number 2 and just do 3 houses.
Yeah, the core
Oh, I
habitat,
disagree.
the core habitat literally takes up
It's too bad.
75% of this land. So I don't see how you're gonna, why we would want you to build a driveway to lot 3 and lot 2. But be that as it may, there's an enormous amount of work that still needs to be done here, and there's a lot on this map that's missing. So I'm gonna do the same, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the previous project, is to give you the checklist and the things that are required. Need a heat map to be able to show us what the grades are. And Lauren is right, anything over 25%, forget about it. Anything between 18 and 25 is the number. We're going to be, we'll look askance at the grading. I don't know how you're gonna cut and fill without blasting and bulldozer. We're just not gonna allow it in this area because it is core habitat. And I just want to digress for a minute. Sam, you brought up a good point, major. We're not sure if this is part of a previous subdivision or not.
No, it isn't.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's raw
Okay.
women, raw walls.
All right. So
It's already been typed as a major.
Yeah.
it was
Are you
typed
sure
as a
of that?
major because
Application.
the applicant requested it.
Yeah, great.
Because it wasn't gonna be determined in time to be able to submit. So, and because there was a question, we said, let's just classify it as a major for now and move forward, and if it becomes a minor, we'll amend it.
Well, it was declared a major by the building.
I think it was, a subdivision.
As far as I know,
Maybe it was subdivision.
All right, so my understanding from the building department was, they don't know whether it was or wasn't a subdivision before.
right.
They went to the county, hang on,
Yeah.
hang on.
The research was done.
The- It's nothing completed. They don't have anything indicating one way or the other. They're waiting for an answer. So you requested that it be a major. It may go to a minor.
That would be up to the
That's up to the
building
building
department. We
department.
have to.
We treat it right now as a major.
We're gonna treat it as a
Resolution.
major.
Sure.
So I'm giving you both. Lauren, would you mind passing that down? to me? There's 3 things there. One is a major, the other is minor. And the other one is just a real easy to understand checklist of things that need to get done.
And I'd say throw a couple other, like, Mark, did you show yours?
I'm
Some
gonna, I'd
other-
like to draw on this.
Some other design ideas, because this is maximum disturbance of land and doesn't fit our comprehensive plan. Better site design and green design, preserve open spaces, protection of groundwater and waterways. All the properties top level forest, Steve, we said that, partial wetlands. We don't like a lot of curb cuts. We don't tend to want things to be sprawled out like this.
So
More
we can,
compact.
we can ask, I think maybe the ask
For an
is, this
alternative.
is what you're saying is, let's look at the, like, the steep slope map, the overlay from the wetlands and the core habitat. And then if you could come back with a few, and also look at the road configuration, come back with, you know, one or two additional options
Exactly.
that would try to optimize to reduce impact along those criteria. That would be a good place for us to go from here, because this map has a lot of information, but there's all these, obviously, these flags going up from our side of things.
Right.
So if we can just look at what all those are at once with a few options from you guys, then we'll find, then I think we'll be able to hone in on the best path forward.
So, yes and yes and yes to all the comments that have been made. Fewer home sites, closer to the road, a single egress out onto Spoon Hill would be most preferable. I don't know how you accomplish all that, but I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that this board is going to approve this kind of disturbance to the land.
Are there habitats for which you need a study done? I haven't looked at this at all.
We're not even close to that.
The only
We're
reason I
going to ask
mention
for a
it,
T&E study for sure.
and the only reason I mention it is that right now, because I represent applicants. If you need a study done, it's best to get it started. So that's one of the reasons. So I know, we know you need.
We're
the
gonna need it
wetland
eventually.
We're going to need it eventually, and whoever does it for the applicant in this particular area, I think it's a good practice that we should think about and maybe start to have our own habitat specialists look at whatever is done to make sure that we're in agreement with it. But you know, I'll defer to the board because I've seen some of these habitat studies that look a little bit too cookie cutter to me. And I would much rather
Yeah, I
have
totally,
somebody
I totally agree.
right? It's just, but we're not, I don't even think we're there yet, to be honest with you. Because if there's no disturbance in the back, they don't need to go back here. If there is gonna be disturbance,
You
then
gotta look
we'll have to
As
do
as
that.
long as you know where the habitats are, that you avoid that. That's the only reason I raise it.
If they're not going in the back, like Malatesta, we're not gonna ask them to do any kind of habitat study in the back.
Like in theory, make this a total in theory, you have one house going in front, we wouldn't ask, well, pretend you had to come to the planning board, I realize that the building inspector.
We wouldn't ask for.
We wouldn't ask for a T&E because the entire lot is not being touched, it's right by the, but the way it is now, you're touch pointing pretty much the entire property.
So I guess, Liz, to your point, we're not gonna let this touch point the whole traffic. So I'm not gonna ask you to do a habitat study. of the whole property.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the EAF and nothing came up for habitat. So I guess I'm just wondering, where should I look to see that?
Well, it doesn't, it doesn't come up, but if you look very close by, we can ask for a T&E even if it doesn't have a habitat, that's the minimum that we are required. So if you pull up the EAF, if you go one property over, then you're in threatened and endangered terrestrial species territory.
Right, so just look on the adjacent properties.
And my point was, I've never met an animal that says, up, can't go any farther. And this is exactly where my T&E territory ends.
Sure.
Plus it depends on if you're in the EAF mapper platform, you select a parcel, you might not get it, but if you go on the environmental resource mapper, you might see it.
Right.
And then there's the core habitat areas.
Right, and this is all
And that's the
99%.
Ulster County.
Right.
So we different choices.
So I don't know if we've given you enough to let you go off and come up with a couple of alternatives.
Yeah, I mean, this is about, it's a little under 3.5 acres of disturbance on the 34-acre parcel. So what are we, I mean,
Well, we don't look at it as just, well, it's only 10% of the total property. What we're looking at is the 10% that you're disturbing. You're going along ridges. You're gonna be
yeah,
cutting and filling rock, presumably. You're gonna be deep diving, as Maureen said, deep diving into the core habitat area. So if it was 5% of the 30 acres, but this was what you gave us, it's too much impact on core areas. And our comprehensive plan allows us to request alternative plans when it's this egregiously.
Well, we don't know what the impact is yet. What we're asking for is more information and other options that try to mitigate impact. And I think it's hasty of us to assume all those negative impacts at this point, but what we're asking for is options based on the things that we're calling out, which are core habitat, steepness of slopes, wetlands.
Because there's another option that Mark was brought, when you look at where the top quality forest is in the back, if you did 3 houses, pull them farther forward, like the Veritas Villa application, you could do a conservation area, not an easement, but an area delineated all in the back, and that would also help to mitigate.
You have them in the back towards where?
No,
Back towards the core habitat.
that's where the back,
The other side.
Yes, I mean.
the back of the lot is
This
the core
portion.
habitat.
That's really the flat part.
And that's
Wow,
the
that's
part
the-
that doesn't need, shouldn't be interrupted.
Right. So there's some engineering.
Well, we're- yeah,
design.
I think we're all acknowledging it's a challenging lot. The things that are good for building conflict with the things that we want to protect. We're asking you to just try to look at all of those at once.
Yeah.
Balance those and then present this option.
Do what I can.
Thank you.
If you need to come back and bounce some ideas off us,
Yeah, no, this driveway layout, like, we were going back and forth between this and private road, so this is what we presented, but that's certainly something we're thinking about too. So I will take all your comments into consideration and I'll be back.
Thank you.
Right?
This property.
Yeah, the. Mount Laurel. Oh, that's.
Yeah, what's the hell there?
Yes.
all right, we're gonna do the next McCarthy. And hello, everybody.
Better there.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. I was gonna say that.
Clean up now, you have
Right. Like, why don't you tell us, you've gotten lots of missives from our consultant and you responded to them. Why don't you just summarize for us what you responded to, what you've done, and what still remains to be done?
Okay.
And before you do that, do we have maps out there? Everybody?
I didn't bring additional maps, so.
Oh, I thought it was.
We know it.
So briefly, it's a 4-lot subdivision on 17 acres. 2 of the parcels, no, 3 of the parcels are going to be residential. 2 of the parcels are going to have a combined shared driveway. Lot number 3 will have an individual driveway. And that was accepted by the board. Since the McCarthy's were last year, I've added wooded areas to the maps, some silt fence. I did not include the expansion areas because I didn't have a septic design until recently, but I do have it. My briefing has been out on the septic design. I guess the biggest thing, my concern was that the EAF showed that this had an archaeological sensitive area. So we have had an archaeological survey done. The field work has actually been completed, but we don't have the paperwork, and my understanding is nothing to report until it's found, but we don't have that in writing.
All
So
right, so your field work is done.
field work's done. Al dug holes. He was out there several times. Okay. Al,
Okay.
I got his name from Matt.
So reports coming.
Yes, report's coming, it's been done. This property does have floodplain and wetlands. We've shown that, we've covered it, we're not disturbing it. And the residential, or the, I'm sorry, strike that, the commercial lot. Hopefully, if this goes smoothly, has a purchaser who will be in front of this board as soon as they can be with a site plan for your review. I guess my other concern is that this has been deemed to be a major subdivision by the building inspector, but we haven't gotten an explanation as to why it's a major.
Have you asked for it?
Yes, I did, and I didn't get a response, and we lost a couple times.
This is another, this one is one that was a re-subdivision thing, I think.
So there's waivers.
When we did our second Zoom meeting, us in this room too, you guys were gonna send us a copy. And we just didn't get one of that, so.
Well, the copy you would have had is.
Just for the reason. That's what.
Oh. Lucky Petroleum on the corner.
Same guy,
Same guy.
different application.
Clearly because of the lot numbers on the tax map, these must have been one parcel at one time.
Exactly. It was subdivided.
And that's why whenever we have a re-subdivision, it's treated as a major subdivision. But to ask for waivers to some of the major subdivision
I don't know.
Criteria.
items, so that is why it's a major subdivision. It's previously,
You know what?
it's like you're opening up an existing subdivision and
All right.
redoing it. Does that
Okay,
make
so
sense?
it's still,
Wait, let's-
but yeah, it makes sense. But
The,
it's
our
still
attorney speaking, and when our attorney speaks, I keep quiet.
Not all straight.
No, I don't, but everybody else needs to be quiet while we talk.
I think what they were looking for, and we probably did say we sent it, was the December 27th memo that came along with the zoning classification, but it does not,
Give the reason.
it does not give the reason in it. So it doesn't say that it's a re-subdivision, so, we can guess, but the bottom line is, he's given us something saying it's a major subdivision. They went back to him, we haven't gotten anything new. They didn't appeal it to the ZBA, and the 60 days has passed. So unless you folks can convince the building inspector to change that, we have to look at this as a major subdivision.
All right, so here's the deal. Anyway, here's the deal. How- And this is how I would prefer to approach it. It's a major subdivision. We're beyond the point of going to the building. You're beyond the point of going to the building inspector and saying, and arguing it's a line. He didn't respond to you. I don't know. He doesn't work for me. So I think it's a major. And the best thing that we can do is to proceed with all the comments that CPL has given us. And those areas where, because it's a major, she's recommending certain things be done. We can have you request a waiver of that item. It's what Maureen mentioned. And that solves the whole thing. So I guess to be blunt, not to be blunt, but to be blunt, I don't want to hear minor, major, minor. It's a major. We don't have to agree with it, but there was a process that could have been going through to resolve it. We didn't do it in the time frame that it needed to be done in, so it's a major.
Not
So
we. The
building
process,
inspector.
I'm being
no,
kind, but
the process is if they didn't agree and they didn't get something new, they had the opportunity to go to the ZBA within 60 days of the decision, and that wasn't done.
So with everything going on and all the sacrificing with the state driveway and the accommodations that we make in here, are we eligible for this waiver to continue in our process?
The way,
let me interpret it. Let me explain to you that waiver business. There are certain requirements in Liz's last letter that she sent that she was asking about because they're part of the major subdivision rules. I think it's safe to say that your representative is going to say, we shouldn't have to do those for the following reasons. That's what's called a waiver. So we're gonna accumulate all those things that your expert is gonna tell us, they don't think it needs to be done for the following reasons. She's gonna write us a letter. And we're gonna say we agree, or we don't agree. Okay?
Good.
You're still good. It's still gonna move along. It's a technicality, but that's why I have an attorney. She could be blunt. You had the opportunity to apply to the CEO and it didn't happen, so. Oh, well, that's why they make the races in the back of the fences. So we're done with that. All right, so now what I want to do is, now that's put to rest, go around the table, and Liz, we're gonna wind up with you with any remaining issues. I'm gonna go around the table if anybody has any comments about the map. Sam?
No, I didn't have any comments.
Okay, Joanne?
Yeah, and just for my personal education and for the board, is that 100 feet wetland, is that the high from high marks of the creek or how it is?
Yes, it's supposed to be in the high water
Yeah.
mark.
So it was,
That's right, that's what,
yeah, I know.
That's what she did.
Yeah. Code says it. Just wanted to make sure.
anything else? Okay, Zach?
I don't have any.
Mark?
Yeah, I do. Do we have a road maintenance agreement prepared or coming?
We do not, only because I have a question. Does the town have a standard that they use? And I don't have a copy of that.
We do have a template.
I can send you the template. If you would
Yeah.
send that to me,
No
then I'll
problem.
have one
And,
as soon as he has one. He's working.
and I would say that, we're still at sketch. We can start working on it, but until we actually have everything, like when we get to preliminary, that would be the time to
Okay,
do it.
all right, but we can get it
But I'll
started.
send it
and-
to you. Yeah, but
So you can
absolutely
have it.
get it started.
I have a couple other items. Do we need to send this to Ulster Connect Plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we
Because
request
it's
that?
on
get-
209.
Can we request that it gets submitted? at this
Well,
stage?
if there's gonna be changes, it's gonna have to be resubmitted, so we might wanna,
We're sure there's no more changes to that.
we generally do.
Then
So
we'll
then-
wait.
And then at preliminary, when we have the preliminary map, that's what we send to the county. They don't wanna look at the early stages, they wanna wait for preliminary.
So we're not there yet.
Okay.
Almost.
Okay.
And my last thing was you mentioned you had septic approval. Is that just the sheet saying it's fine or is that the designs?
I have the designs in the database, but not ready to submit to you yet, because I don't have them copies.
So you can submit them on the next submittal?
They will definitely submit it with the next.
That's all I have. Mark?
We just covered a bunch of mine, except, did you speak to DOT? We have to do a,
There is a letter.
there's a letter from DOT saying it's fine because, just because it empties into 209, we'll have to, I mean, they,
Yeah.
I
you
gave
do
them
the
the
driveway
driveway.
permit.
Yeah, we already have it,
Yeah.
and it was submitted.
Yeah, I just assume that the referral to the county will take care of that since they already have the driveway.
well,
No,
it was
the
something,
county-
DOT separate, it's separate.
There is a
Right,
letter.
but the county does look for county and state impact.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the question would be, if this is more just a question like for you, Mary Lou, also, if the next person came, that then they're gonna sell a commercial to, and that was, I don't know, what's the busiest thing you can drive in and out, a Sonic burger or something, then, so there's lots of cars, then we would cover that with the site plan for
Right.
that commercial
Right.
use that would go in, and we
I
have to
do
worry
have
about
a
it now.
question though. I know when you initially came, you were looking at 4 residential lots. So when you got the driveway permit, was it for commercial or was it for residential from
DOT.
DOT? All right, so you may have to go back to them
They'll have to reapply.
because it's gonna be a commercial lot.
Exactly. John made that point.
John Riley.
John Riley.
Okay, great.
So he made that mistake.
Very good. So make sure you go to.
So do we send it to them as an interested agent? See, or they just handle that separately?
Just let me know stuff.
And the driveway that you see as you're driving on 209, that we got the gravel there, that will be the entrance that we're go to the commercial in theory if DOT says that that's an okay one.
Which is a nice spot.
You can see forever. So it's just-
Yeah, I was gonna say pushing it over there is better away from the lucky stuff.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Warren?
No.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I have a couple things. Margaret, the shared driveway that comes off of Queens Highway, it ends on lot 2, but it doesn't end near a garage, near a house, or anything. You can continue that to wherever. It just,
You're right. I showed the existing amount to propose. I'll add the proposed driveway.
you need a proposed driveway where it's gonna go to, presumably to the garage entrance, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And then as you come off of Queens. As you come off of Queens Highway, the shared driveway then makes a jog to the right. I assume that that's an existing driveway, you're gonna abandon that, right?
That's correct.
So mark it as an abandoned. You know, planted with grass seed, put trees, something.
Yeah, whatever.
We have parties at the stop of the car.
The foundation on lot number 3, is that gonna stay? It says remain, so you sure?
No, it's not going to stay. It's not much.
So to be,
All right, so the
Yeah.
foundation, you
No
need to
part of the
indicate that that foundation on lot 3 is going, right? Removed. And then in terms of the commercial property. Mary Liz, this is for you. Liz pointed out that we would probably want more detail on the use of the commercial property, so that when we do seeker, that we don't wind up having segmentation. Do we
Well, like,
seeker for the
We
residential?
need
So what do we need?
we need to know how much disturbance there's gonna be, and like a conceptual. But whoever they're going to sell this to or rent this to or whatever, they have to come back to us. So I do understand about the segmentation, but we don't need full-blown plans. We need a conceptual, so we have an idea of how much land.
Right, and
And
that-
we understand that could change. We do understand that could change when you have a buyer.
So Liz, would you work with Peg and what that consists
Sure.
of?
Yeah,
So
I
it
mean,
shows
what I
up on
did
the
was
map
to ask for
appropriately?
conceptual, and I just ballparked some numbers based on the zoning, what coverage you could have and what might be reasonable.
So the two of you work together on that? So the next map we see has that in there? There's something else. Hang on, let me go to, I guess that was it. Anybody else?
So, commercial owner will come for site plan approval?
Yes.
yes.
Liz,
No,
do
they don't
you
have
have
to do
anything
site
else?
plan now.
No.
No, that's what we're saying, just a little concept so we can
Confirm.
figure it all together and then we will, they'll have to come independently when somebody has something to do there.
All right, Liz, what else did you have on your list that let's toss it on the table, let the board comment that we do want it, we don't want it.
I mean,
And what I'm thinking of was,
the
if there's anything else I
non-residential,
need to do because it's part of the major subdivision, I want to point that out to them so they come back to us with a letter that says we're asking for a waiver. All right?
okay, so I can't rattle it off unless I'm sitting here in the code and looking at the map. I went through the major things that came out
Right,
that looked like they were gonna need it.
right.
Given that they're not doing any kind of a road, there are a lot of things in the major requirements that aren't gonna be needed. We're talking about a shared driveway, a plain driveway, so. I mean, I can take a look, or the other possibility is to do some offline consultation and go through a list. And that might be an easy way to figure out what you do and don't need now that it's a definite major.
All right, so
Go through the code list together, because I think there are gonna be.
Right, it's number 5 of your letter, you can go through.
There's
So
things
what-
like sidewalks, that's pretty easy to say.
You don't need sidewalks.
So why don't you do that offline with Peg? Go through the code, whatever it is, 140 something or other, something.
That's
or other.
why I didn't jump into it, because
Go through each one of those items, the ones that are covered on the map, fine, the ones that, and the ones that they need to ask for a waiver, it's fine. You don't hear the board asking for anything else, so I think Should be able to do that really easy.
Okay, and do you want a board member on whatever, if we do a Zoom call or something?
When you set that meeting, why don't you let Nicole know?
Okay.
And either I'll make it or I'll ask another board member to make it. All right. Well, maybe I'll let you make.
Whatever you want.
Um, Okay, Liz, anything else?
I mean, I don't think there were any really big surprises in here. Because the site isn't, it has a few grades that go up, but otherwise it seems to be nearly level to rolling. That's an appropriate description. I bought, like I said, I looked at the zoning and backed into what's the possible square footage to have here for the purposes of consecutive seeker. The CEO question, that doesn't need to be addressed anymore, comment number 8. So there's no need for any CEO question about behavior or not. That's a settled thing. Just see. There aren't rock outcrops. I don't know if there were stone walls. That's again minor.
There
And
aren't
then-
any, I would have shown them.
Okay, so
There
there's
are
stone
none.
walls. Okay. And the cultural resource information and your phase 1A, 1B, that's coming.
That's coming.
Okay.
Phase one's gone.
Here's some others. There's a bunch of stuff that you need to answer. Did you have any big questions on any of my most prior comments? And then this, you need to do some level of stormwater. Some level, whether it's gonna be the full thing or basic. It's not clear, but I didn't want to have an engineer looking at it quite yet, because I don't know if you can do it. Or if you have a ballpark limited.
Yeah, I didn't put the calculation on here.
I don't know, honestly.
No problem, we can discuss
Okay,
that.
we'll discuss that. So we
If I
need to
may
look at
forgot
the, and the big, the big question mark on the limited services, if we do a conceptual on residential. I spitballed it to be.
It really could be.
Yeah.
because If you sell it, you want to use the whole park
Yep.
about it. Residential.
So
lots,
Liz, if there are more items,
I think that's it. Those are the biggies, and we'll go on our.
So you
our
guys-
offline thing.
have it offline about that.
But if the board's satisfied with the general layout, you could give sketch approval tonight and ask them to make those changes and bring them in on a proposed preliminary map.
Okay. Is the board, I'm satisfied with the map as it is
For sketch.
for sketch.
I'll make a motion to accept the map for sketch plan approval.
I have a second. Maureen, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll answer it.
Zorian?
You have enough votes.
Don't call that.
Gloria McCary.
Somebody knock on the door and ask
You
if you
don't
say
need
yes.
Jordan.
Anybody opposed? No, okay, so pass, so you have sketch plan approval. So next steps. Very quickly, have a meeting with Liz to take care of all these other things. And then get us a map. A preliminary, what's the exact term? Preliminary plan that we can look at the next meeting.
Or we'll put it on after we get it. They have a lot to discuss.
Right.
So it's not a public hearing, so it's.
It really is. I don't think it'll change the gist of the subdivision.
I think the biggest thing is a little bit more for the commercial piece.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's a decent sized commercial lot.
So we're not gonna be able to do the public hearing next month. We need to
Well, we
look
have
at
to
this.
look at the
No,
preliminary
we gotta look
in order to
We
set.
just have.
You got sketch plan.
Yeah, we got sketch plan, that's it. They go
So now we wait for them,
We
and when
wait.
we get everything 2 weeks before. we go to that
We're going the normal submittal time.
Exactly, it's a normal timeline, exactly.
Determine whether they're ready for public hearing or not, and the timing and all that good stuff.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, next project, honeycomb.
All right, I'm recusing myself, not because it's honeycomb, but because I think it's
You have an extra one for me?
No jokes about that. Come on.
I'm recusing myself for the duration of the meeting. because I'm voting.
So you're not recusing yourself. You just
I'm
have to.
I'm leaving.
Don't
I have
recuse
to.
yourself because then
I'm
you're.
gonna go look at me to come back.
Well, just a point of clarity, if you leave, which you should do, clearly, and Zach will have to, we don't have.
We
I
have
have
a
or
four,
sorry,
1, 2, 3, 4.
We still have a, yeah, well,
Then so we need to
She's
continue.
been
so we
seated
have
for
a
this.
core, yeah, okay,
So
great.
we
And
have
then
a
you're out for this, the rest of this application.
No, she's not recusing herself.
She's
No,
just
please,
leaving.
I thought-
I'm just leaving.
No,
You-
it's like she's absent.
Didn't we say in our
That's if you
training? No, I thought we said that if someone is absent for a meeting and the
And we
alternate
don't
sits
have a
in-
quorum.
Right, oh, it was the two conditions. that we
Yes.
met.
Yeah, we have a
Got it.
quorum.
We
with-
need
without
someone
double.
to make a quorum.
Oh, wait, wait.
She's being
And
seated.
you.
Oh, so
Quorum.
she's seated normally.
She's seated
anyways.
already.
Rick,
So you
I'm
have a quorum.
giving the fast speaker all my notes on the town stuff, which is mostly like,
Fast speaker.
so he can reference it
Is that nice? Or who are you getting into?
tomorrow. The fast
All right,
speaker.
let's just note that at
8:35.
8:35, that both Mr. Grasso.
Yeah,
and
what
Mr.
happened?
Jarvis-
Surgery or yourself?
Surgery.
Last one.
Okay.
It's getting better.
Let's come to order.
Bye.
No, Emery,
Come on over.
please
Oh
join
my
us.
God.
Come on,
And I have to.
Yeah, perhaps. Hi, John.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. It's not raining there.
It's not raining
Couldn't
I got
stand-
pretty
You couldn't stand up.
In freedom of the family.
Patrick, would you, I'm taking one for myself and Mary, would you distribute that?
Rick, I'll recap if that's okay.
Yeah, just hang on 1 second, everybody. Yeah, that would be my preference, that you and John.
There we go.
Sure.
So we had our site visit last week, which went well. There's a couple of good comments that came out of it. The other items that we have remaining on Liz's list is the two items that we are requesting waivers for. One is the outcropping to be labeled on the map. And the other one is the stormwater drainage item to be looked at, which we seem to, based on the conversation at the actual site, seem to be okay. So we've put in a request for that, a written request for that. And otherwise, our goal today is to hopefully set a public hearing.
All right, so I don't know, anybody have from the board have any comments? Liz, I'm gonna get to you shortly. Anybody from the board have any comments? I'll come back specifically to your request for waiver.
Sure.
I had a couple of observations from the site visit. And also from the new maps. You had the driveway grades or side grades, whatever you call it, so that was one thing, profile, thank you, that we had looked for, and so we got that, that was fine. At the site visit, I was impressed with the driveways, at least with the rock that you put on the driveway, the base you created for the driveway, so. But as I mentioned to you, I don't know whether it's both of you or John to you, the drainage swale that starts, as you come into the property, starts on the right-hand side with that.
We're gonna add.
On is- That entire length, you need to show the swale, the drainage swale going in front of all the properties, down the hill, all the way to whatever the name of the river is or stream. is, The Metacohons, the Mill Bridge, the Mill Ridge, the whatever.
And Rick, I thought about it. We want to add, we want lot 3 to be the one who maintains that. because it has the most frontage on lot 3. So rather than each individual property owner to maintain that individual portion of their swale, we'd rather driveway number or lot number 3 owner to maintain that whole thing, because ultimately, without them doing it, it would back up and create problems for other people.
Well,
That's
I don't know
fine,
how
we'll
you
need an
get-
agreement, we'll need that, an agreement that goes.
Yeah.
That'll be-
It'll be in the covenant.
Yep,
except the existing swale is not all on lot 3.
that's right, but that's,
Exactly.
that's.
And
on
we're
a
creating the
road,
easement from the spring all the way down to.
The owner on lot 3 is the one that would be most impacted if it was not maintained. So we want it to be their responsibility.
Everybody's responsibility.
Lot
Lot
3
three's
owners
responsibility.
to maintain the entire
So
site.
lot 3 is gonna have to clean out
Yes,
boulders for lot.
that is correct. Because if not, it backs up, it would back up into lot 3.
Yeah, they can do that, that's their choice.
Okay.
They have the most.
I'm fine.
Design that as long as we have something that shows they're gonna be named.
So John, just make sure that that swale goes all the way down to where that street.
Yeah.
Down the gully.
Absolutely, because I realize right now, we don't show it all the way down. I have to actually have to go back.
Where's the show now?
Okay,
Where's
so
the show now?
does anybody have a comment about any of that?
Where does it go? The swale is,
The show now.
the swale says right here, it's this property line here, so the water comes.
Biggest
Right.
other than the small plants.
Okay, here it is, right here. The swale right here, so it's a swale. We're gonna just take this line, and extend it to that.
Is that the drainage?
Hang on, Sam.
It's gonna go the whole way, it's gonna stop.
Is there any, you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
This drainage
It's gonna
swale
be a little bit more clearer and
Yeah, we're gonna map the whole thing out.
is gonna be, the survey will be extended on the swale and then we're going to create probably something like a 12-foot wide drainage easement that goes from the spring all the way down to the creek.
And 12 feet underneath.
I would think it's 6 for the center, but.
Total,
feet on
yeah.
total, yeah, that doesn't have more.
Sam?
The question is just back relating to the end of Beehive Road. So like on the road that I live on, the town like maintains the ditches on the side of the road. And it seems like, I mean, I know private landowners typically maintain culverts for their own driveways. But part of this, what we're calling a swale is, I mean, looks to me like a roadside ditch that you guys constructed. So how does that, I guess like, it seems like there's a roadside ditch which drains then onto lot 3. Basically. So
So where
I
you
guess
going with it? You want
reason I'm
town
going
to
with
do
it is why does it need to be anything? Like if there's a roadside ditch, the town's responsible for maintaining the roadside ditch.
This is true,
Individual
but-
property owners are responsible.
But the easement would be necessary, especially if the town was maintaining the ditch, in my mind.
Doesn't
because-
the town have an easement already?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't have an easement past the town, past the right
That's
of way
the, what
line.
they've all.
So
And this
we
is
need to-
past the right of way?
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna go right
Oh.
through lot 3, so, you know, in order for that, for the town to make sure that their road isn't flooded, the drainage easement is necessary.
It's really
So
So
specific.
it's not the
They have
part,
rights.
we're not concerned about the part that's right next to Beehive Road, like where our cars were parked. We're talking about the part that.
It's a good point. You're right. I see what you're saying, and I agree. You're right. It's unnecessary to create the easement within the town right away because the easement already exists. So
But where it leaves there.
where it leaves and hits lot 3, it will, that would make the most sense.
But then if you're easing it to lot 3, like who's the easement being granted to?
That's a good point.
My goal is, the biggest impact is if the swale is not maintained at the spring level through the 2 culvert driveways,
Right, which is. lot-
the driveway
4.
3 could potentially be backed up. So it's driveway 3's problem, right?
Right.
They need to be the one who maintains it.
But
So-
maintain what?
Maintains the flow from the spring
But
to,
that's town.
Yeah, that's town. I mean, honestly, it seems to me, you make a very good point.
I'm worried that the town is not gonna maintain it. That's my concern. And if
Oh,
that
okay.
which happens.
It's a town road.
Well, the town has a right of
The
way
town has
over
the right to
property.
run.
So you're saying you want to grant lot 3,
And we'll just mention from.
like an over,
We create an easement.
you want to give lot 3 an easement that overlaps with the town's right of way on lot 2?
I want to hear if Sam.
Can I ask a question about
Hang on, we got
the drainage from the spring?
That's what we're talking about.
No, I understand that.
It's not just the
But that
spring.
crosses through lot 4.
It does.
Right.
It
Well,
goes
so I
from
think,
4 to
I
3.
think what we're,
Just a culvert.
what we're saying, or what I'm saying, is that the town already has a right of way on the part of lot 4 where that drainage exists. We're just talking about that. Because the town has a right of way to
So
extend.
Sam, are you saying that the owner on 3 should just maintain the frontage on 3?
Well, what I thought John was saying is that maybe we need to, maybe what you really need to do is grant lot 3 an easement that is sort of like right on top of the right of way that the town has. So that you're giving lot 3 the right to mess with lot 4 in a place where the town also has.
In the event the town doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I can.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think.
So this is,
But I'm asking Mary Lou too.
right, okay, I was not on the site visit,
Yeah.
so I can't, visualize this. So is this where the road already exists? Because that's all the town has, and that's not a right of way, that is a town road.
So the town, so there's the spring areas like here.
Okay,
Then there's what looks like a drainage ditch that runs along the side of Beehive Road, I think within the town's right of way, but I don't know. That's what John is saying.
right, so that's my question, is that
And
drainage
then-
ditch on
The drainage ditch.
the
is
town
within-
road, or is that on Mark's property?
So everything's on the property. Because
The town road is on the property.
the town-
Right,
yeah.
that's common, but
But it
the
is
town
with-
road
it
is
is
only
within
where
our
the
right.
town road
It is
is.
within the town right of way. Yes, the answer is yes, it is within the town right of
It
way.
is where,
For
and the
area.
town is now maintaining that ditch?
I
Well,
guess
that's what we're talking
theoretically, I don't know if they
Somebody
actually
is.
are, but.
The
Well, I mean,
town,
that's my
they could.
question.
it's a good question. The town should be.
Well, it's a good
Nate,
one.
the roadway, the actual traveled roadway, where whatever is there, well, I don't know if it's gravel, I don't know what kind of roadway.
Debated.
Okay.
There you go.
Depends on which
Half and
patch you're
half.
on.
Yes.
It's oil gravel.
Okay, all right. So where that gravel is, that's the town road. Yes. Does it go through Mark's property? Yes, but it is still a town road.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily give them the right of way. It's
I
a
see.
very weird highway law thing.
Okay, so.
So
the-
if that ditch
Question.
is next to the road, it may be Mark's responsibility. Now, you had said that you were going to give an easement to the town. I
Question.
think that we need to contact the highway department, or Mark does, and say, if we if we give this easement to the town for maintenance, will you maintain it? Do you want that?
They maintain.
Or
the-
would you prefer that we keep that as part of the subdivision, and we will have a maintenance agreement?
They maintain currently the culvert on lot 4 that is on the other side that's ditched.
So talk to the
Yeah,
highway
okay.
superintendent, and
You probably wanted in
and
writing too.
because we certainly don't want to say, great, we're gonna take this, we think it'd be great if you gave an easement to the town, and then the town goes,
They were,
we don't want
You
to
know,
deal with
I'll be
that.
honest with you, I
That's
would
his
rather
problem."
go with the lot that are on 3 because for some,
but I don't know how you do that,
I don't either.
Because I think this is where Sam was going. That means if he's got to go on to lot 4 to maintain the culvert that goes under lot 4's driveway
That's correct.
and goes all the way up to the pond. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I, as owner of 4, allow 3 to go?
I guess because otherwise the basement could, I don't want it to be
Well, why
backed
don't you
up.
make 4 responsible for that portion of the culvert as well as the cut along the side of the road? You got to do yours.
Yep.
And then 3's got to do his. 2's not impacted.
2's not impacted.
That's together.
But if
So
you
the
put
two-
in agreement, then
It has to
lot
be-
3 could sue lot 4 if they're not maintaining it.
They
So
could.
make an agreement. Like you said, we're back to where we started.
We have a plan that we were gonna do that. The town has the right of way. We'll ask Jeff if he's gonna maintain it, regardless of his
I need
answer.
it in writing. He's going to.
If
Otherwise,
he doesn't, we'll do it as you proposed. 4 is
he's got
gonna
to put
maintain
in
the
the
road.
4 and 3's
Exactly.
deeds or whatever the hell it's called.
I think it would really help everybody involved, even if you don't put it on the plans right away, to have the graphic representation of whatever you're gonna be talking about. Very clear, because you did this really great inset here, very helpful. And I think you might need another sort of little inset.
So what you're
Who's
suggesting is whatever they
responsible
agree
for
to
what?
do, it needs to be memorialized on the map.
Sure.
Ultimately, but
Okay,
it,
I
you know,
agree.
Yeah.
And I would, if it would be acceptable to the board, I'd like to remove sheet 4, the aerial photo, just keep that in the packet as an exhibit. And we could then use sheet 4 to clarify it.
You don't need my permission.
I'm gonna
that's
save
fine.
on it.
That makes a lot of sense.
I know.
If music 3 or 4 maintain the park, would town be in jeopardy? The road would be in jeopardy?
No,
No?
no, not the road.
No? Not at all?
Not at all.
So town, we cannot say. From point of view, the less people involved to maintain it.
Maybe
more
better,
reliable to go maintain. So
Agreed.
town is not affected because it's a.
All right, so you got your homework to do. If they don't want it, then you gotta do it.
So, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, but we didn't schedule it.
You gave sketch last time.
You did, right? I'm looking in the minutes. and I'm not
Yeah, you
seeing
have-
it. That's
Yes,
why I'm
two times.
It was 2 times ago. Okay, that's why.
So
Yeah.
the only items that
I
we
have
have left is
Waivers
your notes
and
from the meeting.
set public hearing contingent on
Getting them.
those are
The-
my notes.
All right, so your request for a waiver.
No, you were still talking about notes from the site.
Oh, that was it.
That's it? Oh, okay.
Your request for a waiver. So let me understand what you're asking for. The first one is there is no rock where the houses are, where the house is
Outcrops.
going, any of that, right? It's all the outcrops and all the rest of
I mean, yeah, there's that, yeah, you were
There is
there's
that,
that
that's
cross, you know,
There's a lot of rock.
there sure are.
I'm okay, but we'll need a motion to approve the waiver, not to mark the map with everything outside of the house footprint. So I'll make that motion.
So, okay, I'll second the motion, but then I want to have a discussion.
Okay.
So you're talking about the rock outcropping part.
Yes.
The waiver
Like the-
request,
Well, the waiver request has 2 points.
Yeah.
No, just the rock.
I'm asking we separate them out. Okay.
Just the rock outcropping.
So
So
that was it. That was my whole discussion, just to clarify.
Alright,
Yeah,
so
this
we
is
have a
only for the.
motion, we have a second. All in favor for the first one? Ayes? Any aye?
Everyone said aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. On the second one, I don't think you need a waiver. Here's why. Liz, either today or yesterday, sent out a revision to her letter,
today.
the last letter. She sent it out today. And what she indicated is we don't need a grading plan. What we need is an erosion and sedimentation plan. But it's a generic plan. And the best way I can put it is in the Cusack decision. Page 7 of their map set is one page that just deals with the generic sedimentation drainage plan that gets implemented. So silt fences, the whole 9 yards, when you're actually building out the property, either individually or all of them at once. That's all we need. We don't need the grading plan. Liz confirmed that. So you don't need this exception.
So
Because I'm
the,
not gonna give you a waiver to do that. Page 7, it's standard fare that engineers or surveyors have at their disposal. So if you do that, you're good to go. You don't need this waiver.
okay.
All right?
I do have an additional
Sam,
comment
do
on
you
that
have
point though, which is this drainage easement / memorialization of how the current drainage situation exists.
On the swale,
Yeah, I do think that that needs to be in, like, if that was going in new, that would be in a great plan, right? It would show like, here's the shape of the ditch, here's where the culverts are gonna go.
You do need the
I think
drainage,
we need that in these maps.
but I think
Just around Beehive Road though, I don't see that we need it.
well, but it's a town ditch. Is that what you're asking?
Well, that's this whole mess that we're in.
Yeah.
And like, if it's a town ditch, the town just comes with their grade all and does whatever the heck
Yeah,
they want
yeah.
every year. But if it's a ditch that you've made, which I think it is, and what you may.
I
well be
cleaned because the water was flowing, but I had to clean.
We want to know what it looks like now, and if there's gonna, especially if Jeff says, or the highway superintendent says that they're not gonna maintain it.
So you
We
either
wanna
want a letter
see-
saying from Jeff that he is gonna maintain it, that's option one. If he says he's not gonna maintain it, then you would want
We
a
want to see what it
drainage.
looks like,
And what you're gonna do.
and what your plan is to maintain it as it exists currently. So like what it is currently, and then how it's gonna
What
be
it will
maintained.
become.
So Sam, how do you envision, what do you?
Yeah, what do you
envision
want
that
to,
plan
what do you
say?
actually
Well, like, so
want?
the grading plan would just be a drawing, a grading type drawing of what currently exists.
Like a typical cross section.
Yeah, typical cross, well, no, I think it would actually show the slope of the ditch.
Okay, so a profile along.
I mean, I don't know what that,
I
when
want to
we
get
see a
clear what you
new,
mean.
when we see a new grading plan of a driveway, it shows, you see the topo lines, and you can see there's like the little zigzag in it, and that's showing the ditch. I'd like to see something that kind of shows like, this is what will be maintained based on whatever covenant or ditch maintenance agreement you make.
So it's
Am I
almost,
saying that? I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Like,
I think it's a
there
lot
I
needs
know
of-
what you're saying. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out exactly how
How
this
you gonna do it?
How we can show it to you.
portrayed on the map.
I mean, honestly, I would be okay with like photographs showing like, this is how it exists currently. This is the typical profile, and this is what's supposed to be maintained.
What about a
If
note
there's
on
a-
the map that the ditch should, be maintained as it exists, as per the state, and then we can attach pictures as an exhibit.
I'm comfortable with that, but I don't know if Mary Lou. how would
Well,
you think about
actually, I think that would be CPL's
that? Yeah.
question.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't. So let's stick to this ditch for a second. So, I think you need a couple, you need to define it well enough
Right.
that you know what you're maintaining.
Yeah.
Because the thing about swales and ditches
Because
is
they
they
move.
do get filled in over time with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's clean language. You can kind of see a little bit of
A little bit.
the existing grade. But what I'm seeing here is different than what I saw on site. Like here, it's, that's the word I'm looking for. I
It
mean,
was
it's-
dug out. It was a
it's
good
kind of
ditch.
dug out.
It was a
It's
good
not just flowing down this gentle hillside here. And so this might look a little more accurate in terms of the existing grade, but once you get down here, I imagine it, again, it's not gonna be just this gentle thing. It's actually dug into the ground. This kind of contouring here just looks like a gentle flow over some rocks. But what I saw on site looks like, I don't know, 2.5 feet deep,
Right.
maybe 2 feet deep. And maybe, how wide is this? At least this wide.
18 inches.
We just want to see that.
Something like that. We need some kind of specification and make, so it's possible to do a grading plan. On the other hand, another way to handle it would be to have there be a cross section, which I
Right.
think somebody,
Typical
that might be the
cross-section.
easiest way to represent what it is now. So an actual cross section that gives the dimension of the width and the depth of it.
Right. The size of
And-
the culvert.
Right.
Mm.
And then I suppose it would
Let's just
be,
hope Jeff takes it.
I suppose. it
Are you
would
a
be
betting
helpful-
man? I'll bet you he won't.
I bet you won't either.
I suppose it would be helpful also to have a profile going down.
Yeah, but I think, right, if you had like a typical cross section
Right.
and then drew a line, like where you already have saying swale and said like, this swale represents this typical cross section. And then you give us a profile of the ditch. And then I labeled the culverts with their dimensions. I think that would be good.
That would suffice, and it wouldn't be quite as time.
It wouldn't be,
consuming
yeah,
as
you
showing
don't
the
have to
entire
map
grade.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Because that thing seems to have been,
Oh, we cleaned it up for sure.
yes, cleaned it
Yeah,
up.
it needed to be
up
cleaned,
recently, Yes.
And that's.
Me and a rake.
question on
Go ahead.
And flow rate. I mean, whatever water is in that spring. It appears that the culvert that's there now is carrying the water. Does there need to be some kind of a provision? That you have to remain, you have 10%, 20% increase on the dimensions of it, to cover so that it doesn't overflow? I mean, you were there, you saw
I was
the
there and
pond and the,
wetland. I mean, it's a wet area, which, and the beauty of it is having a wet area right
Helps.
there. It's a great, it helps, exactly.
it buffers the flow. No, I know, yeah.
Like it's
I was
fun.
just, we're just trying to conceptualize whether we're even, you know, this swelling that we've been going on. How big does it need to be? Does it need to be bigger? Is it big enough?
I think the existing conditions seem sufficient because it's like very well drained gravel. We just want to be sure that the existing conditions are.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't like it was full.
Yeah.
We were there in the middle of a
It's been
very
wet,
wet
yeah.
area.
Right.
And it's got, I mean, it looks like it has plenty of volume.
There was
compared to what's
excess
there.
capacity.
And this year,
Yeah, so we'll get that.
cross
We'll
section and for
check with Jeff first, and if the work is required, we'll do it. But it seems like that's the only outstanding item,
I think it is.
because you have accepted the outcrops waiver.
You just got that.
can we finish on the whole, can I just do a brief thing? on the-
Absolutely.
Okay.
You have more.
So I knew that we weren't looking for grading on the individual lots or grading of the driveways or anything like that. But the thing is, the site is disturbed, isn't stabilized. It will and should be, you know, because you're gonna be doing more disturbance to create these homes and the septic system. So the idea was to have a typical lot specification. In other words, we're not asking you to grade everything out and show where the silt fence is gonna be. We're asking for a reference to a typical lot map, and it's gonna show what would you do.
And is this is, as per the disaster 7?
We gave you a couple of, I gave a couple of examples in the email that was attached. And, you know, the other thing is that, I gave that, PDF of the book, but if you look up, typical lot erosion sedimentation details, I actually think I found another thing. So, but those are examples, those are sources. If you don't happen to have, you know, the specifications. The grading wasn't requested, so I just did a little clarification for that.
Right, we eliminated that.
Yeah, I think the board had already eliminated it, and, let's see.
So the only thing I
And
have,
then, you know, you have an area that's a low area, and on site, we had a discussion about marking that as low/wet area. I'm not gonna ask
no
for
problem.
wetland delineation, because it's already been identified. I mean, there are a few remaining comments, I don't know if you need to go through all of them.
I mean, my question is on number 1E. You said 125-14G, while the zoning requirements list on that.
Yeah, it
Provide a
wasn't,
zoning table,
I
you're
think
saying
it-
it's not clarified.
because I think it would be helpful if I could just have a call with John and say, how can we give this value to that? Where do you have a front yard, where do you have a rear? So at least I can let him go, oh, that makes sense.
Guys,
That's a
talk
simple
anytime you want.
conversation. Yeah, I think we can do that. Are there any other remaining comments that you had questions
You
about?
have number 11 and number 12.
The same thing. This 11 is what we've been just discussing about.
So you want me to just change it on the short one?
It's really a matter of the plans. I looked at your plans.
I guess
and
my question is,
yeah,
how do we
yeah,
satisfy it?
do the typical lot plan stuff.
Okay.
That we're asking, and deal with it, you know, some of these issues that.
And 12, you're happy with the section of that?
Yep.
You don't understand.
Yep, and just to be clear, the form doesn't stand on its own. This is what's demonstrating all the things that you're doing to mitigate the disturbance.
Okay.
I think those are the big ones.
So we're good. We're good if you guys are.
So, we need these adjustments to the map that we spoke about, which are primarily drainage related. In the next meeting, we will be able to, next map, new map should be more on a preliminary plan.
Okay.
And then we can give you preliminary approval if it meets,
You have to have a public hearing before you can get through with it.
sorry,
You want to set that?
That, it's up to you whether you want to set it contingent upon these things.
we don't need to send
coming
this to Ulster County, we don't need to send it to. There's no agricultural lands around there.
Yeah,
we
we
can
just
send
have the
it.
chicken egg thing of having those typical lot. Even if you found a typical lot spec that you're saying to us, you're gonna put on the plans, and you haven't redone the whole plan set, you know,
I think the question on the table is doing public hearing.
right, but you need.
So-
fair and egg.
We'll set the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Public hearing at the June meeting,
Right.
contingent upon
The receipt of map.
an
or
updated
maps.
preliminary plan in accordance with the guidance given tonight.
I like that language.
That's good.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I did.
You did.
If I didn't-
Okay, so public hearing for June meeting, subject to getting the items that we discussed just now.
Okay. Quickly.
And
Thank you.
more offline consult is needed.
Kidding.
More offline
Yeah,
consultation. is
yeah.
needed.
So, but quickly, so there's a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah,
that the
probably
board
next
can
week.
review it.
Yeah, we have to have it.
2 weeks ahead of time.
Weeks in advance.
An extra week.
What?
You get, the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, because we have an extra.
Oh, right,
Monday,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have time. Good.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, come on back to the other side of the table.
Let it be noted that I don't find Mr. Grasso. We need a break. Okay, let's keep going.
I think I can do this because it's all.
I think we're done with the things that you need to do. Potentially.
I need a bathroom, Rick.
Yeah. So we're
Just
gonna-
a no break.
Pavlov's planning board members.
Yeah. It might, I don't know. You search
And then they
it.
get something from.
I think there is a.
Just be aware we're still live on.
Yeah, unless it's something to record.
Mark,
Yes.
where is it written in the code that the driveway is 12 feet?
One more time.
Where is the code?
Yeah.
There is a specification for legal driveway. is 12 feet.
I don't understand what you mean. You want to know why they're 12 feet high?
Yeah, why is that?
That was what the Woods Road was, so we just kept it
No,
the
no,
same.
no, I'm not talking about you, in general.
So I mean, your letter should.
In general.
You have a conversation
Right,
about it.
but if they just do it, you know. Right?
For anybody in the public that still wants you, just take a short break.
The driveway, 12 feet, I couldn't find anywhere in the code. Specifically says
Definitely, you know,
it has to
I
be
can see
12
that.
feet. Driveway.
I don't.
Mark?
Yeah, I know,
Meet
but-
somebody here.
Right, but I couldn't find anywhere, where is it coming from?
I don't know,
It might
but you
be
know,
in
when
the
I
fire
can't find
code.
something, I look up keywords in it.
I was.
You did, look up width, don't look up.
I look at the driveway, I look at 12, I
Well,
look
I
at
don't know. But I
12 feet, nothing came
Did you look
up.
up width?
Both of those, I should.
No,
Right, no, but I mean, even if this is where there's something just.
Yeah, two words just makes it worse. Honestly. When you look up keywords, you get so many.
no, but I put them in,
And then you skip,
In
you only
court.
look for the ones that I think are in subdivision or.
Well, we still need to deal with.
Remember the code.
But only for. Only for the forest project.
You know, you're having a meeting, maybe you can do this. You made a motion for one meeting.
Could be reason, could be why.
You know,
It might be fire code.
it's all right.
We'd like to meet you.
Some to redeem yourself.
The agenda's only gonna be one project.
It's gonna be reviewing the next one.
Okay, let's roll to the next item on the agenda. First, it's, we have three things: accessory dwelling units, moratorium, and a comprehensive plan. I'm gonna go in backwards. Comprehensive plan first, because that's the easy one. I don't need a motion. I don't suspect anybody has any objection. I saw it, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we resubmit the letters that we submitted the last time the town board asked us for letters.
I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Discussion.
No, none.
The only thing I want to say is I agree with Sam. I'm going to attach all three letters from 2018 and two from 2020 and just say we continue to be in support of this.
Right, and you know, they did vote it down one,
It was
and they're bringing it back
Yeah.
along with this moratorium and redoing it.
So let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Let's do the moratorium next. Mary Lou, would you mind just giving a summary of?
Yeah, I would because I didn't write it.
Oh, So I'll give you some.
If you had asked me beforehand, I would have
Okay.
had something ready.
So I'll give a quick summary. Is the most important sections are actually starting with section 5, at least the most important ones in my mind. From 1 to 4 is just setting this all up as the rationale for doing it. It reflects on a comprehensive plan. It reflects on a number of applications we've had in the last year and a half. It reflects on all the work that was done by our Philip Marion's committee that she worked on for a year and a half, which was to look at the code, the natural heritage plan. There was a host of different things that were done that we just voted on to vote for. And so it was a setup to say the town board needs to look at the code and make sure it complies with the existing plan and all the additions that are being made to it. Section 5 talks about prohibited actions, and section 6 talks about exemptions. In my mind, those are the only, I assume those are the only sections that somebody has some comments about. So I'll start it off. Section 5, Mary Lou, I actually have a comment for you.
Okay.
Number D. I don't understand the way it's worded and the way the punctuation is used. I don't know whether they're saying no site plans or special use, or no site plans or special use where it's 4,000 feet and better, or it's saying no site plan, no special use, and no anything else with this 4,000 square feet. So for example, if somebody came in, if somebody came in with a 10,000 square foot home on 100 acres, section D would say you can't do it because it's over 4,000 feet. It's the positioning of the commas and lack of commas. I'm confused. Is it only dealing with special use? I mean, I'll give you a chance.
It's
to read
talking
it.
for, as far as the planning board, if something comes in for a site plan or special use permit, and the buildings on that total 4,000 square, or 4,001 square feet or more, you can't review it.
But only with respect to site plans and
And special use permits,
It has
right?
nothing to do with anything else.
Well, that's it. We do
Well,
that
that's
in
what you did.
subdivision and lot line.
And then later on in E,
Well, no, we do subdivision. Sorry,
That's
so-
E.
That's E.
Okay,
that's E,
that's what I want to know. Okay.
right? D is only for site plans and special use permits for
Alright, so-
buildings larger than 4, combined buildings larger than
So do you have any
4,000 square
idea
feet.
why they did the 4,000? Why didn't they just say no site plans, no special use?
Well, I think that generally that's considered pretty small, like when things are less than 4,000 square feet, you don't need to do so. I think you're saying that's minor, that's not something that's going to really change the course of zoning. if somebody gets a 4,000 square foot building in under the wire.
So what
That's what
was,
I'm thinking.
what
That's
was
what-
way in excess of 4,000 square feet? As an example.
No.
No,
It wasn't.
most of them
2,900
exist
and-
already.
1 to 400, right?
Well, no, it doesn't exist.
The new building that they're building is less than 4,000 square feet.
So that's an example of one that would go.
It's containing any combination of buildings. So yeah, with the 3 buildings, it would be one.
Right.
So I don't know how anybody feels about that, just to say, no site plan, no special use.
Yeah, bring that down here.
Rick, are you wanting to go around and do,
Yeah, I guess we'll go.
we'll do all your
Good,
comments?
good suggestion. Thanks. Slate it, like, anything after non-conversation. Number 8. What? Number 8, Mary, we got a question. I just want to make sure I understand the wording. But the saying here is no subdivision. Any subdivision 2 or less than 1 would not be a subdivision. So a 2-lot subdivision is allowed. Anything from 3 better. Period. Full stop. Under the exceptions, it seems like number 4 under exceptions contradicts E under prohibited actions.
But an exemption you have to apply for.
No.
No.
A waiver you have to.
Oh, I'm
Waiver.
sorry, all right, I'm in the wrong thing.
So
Section. So it sounds like, so there are a couple things with exceptions which are fine. Anything in EEO is exempted. Anything that has already been discussed at this board is exempted.
can I add on that comment? For somebody like Willingham, who just represented Sweeney, is that considered?
That's an exception. He now has an exemption.
Because he was on an agenda that was reviewed
And the
by
guy
the
before
planning board.
him opposed his exemption.
Got it.
Now, frankly, both of them have so much work. They
Remember,
got
it's
6 months
probably
worth of
law by
work.
the-
I'm not one.
No, I just didn't know if the
Yeah.
law were to be
And
enacted.
I'll be quite honest with you, even though this is what we're recording, I thought about saying, no, we think it on the agenda. And then I said, man, if there was no moratorium, when I let them on the agenda just to chat and to get an idea of what they need to do, yeah, I would have. Now, maybe I shouldn't in any situation, but I
But
would have.
okay, meetings
So I'm
can
not
happen
gonna make,
during
I'm not
the
gonna make
planning
an
board meetings, so, yeah,
exception to them getting.
an
on the
appropriate
agenda.
use of the time.
So then here's a question on that same topic. If somebody were to bring an application in, well, no, if they were to bring an application in for a 4-lot subdivision, say June, whatever our next meeting is, and the moratorium is in place, we will not accept the application. That's right.
Right,
At
the
that
more, right, if the
It wouldn't go on
moratorium
the
is in place.
We accept the
Can
application,
we
but
go
it doesn't
back
go on the
to
agenda.
Rick's original
Right.
question that he had asked, you were
That's my
saying
understanding.
that you think that E and
Number 4, an exception.
but now E up above is things before the planning board.
Right.
4 is things that would not be come before the planning board. So that's the building department.
Gotcha. Okay, that answers my question. And I'm done. What, did I answer your question before?
I'm sorry, I mixed up.
No, it's okay.
I guess my question is the application comes in, the moratorium is in place. Do we deny the application and say we're not accepting it? Or do we keep it and just put it in a folder?
It's
It
just
just
there and we
sits.
can't review it until.
But we keep it.
It's just as
Yeah.
if somebody submitted an application and then didn't submit any further materials that were needed. It just kind of sits
In our
in
pending
limbo,
folder.
and I believe according to the code, it's 2 years before we can completely get rid
And they
of
may
it.
even get some kind of stay due to the fact
There
that.
is, there is an option.
So
to
then I have another
request a
question on that
waiver.
same topic.
There was one project that wanted to be on the agenda, but there was no map. There was literally little or no work, which is the application, a will and a wisp, some ideas, but no map, not even a sketch map, not even something on a piece of toilet paper. I said, no, can't be on the agenda. So we're setting up a separate meeting with that to talk about, here's all the things that you're missing.
So on the same topic, what happens if I had an application in, say, 2021? I never met in front of the board, but everything actually was in place.
No, if it wasn't on an
That's
agenda,
correct,
it
it was
doesn't
before.
go forward. And a lot of places, when they do a moratorium, they will say that unless you've gotten to the public hearing stage,
Sure.
you can't proceed.
So then I have one more question
So
on that same.
The board's being a little more generous and saying, look.
Because there
been
are
on the
people who,
agenda.
there are people who have come to us, who have met in front of the board and have pulled their application for whatever reason.
They're impending.
They're impending, but they have everything because they've actually met with us.
So they're still in
But if
play.
they pulled their application, technically
Then they
speaking,
need
they
to
have
use
to
the
start the
public.
process over.
What if they just haven't came back
They're
with
still in
stuff?
play.
And they're still okay if they come back.
If
and
they've been
moratorium.
here and they just went bye-bye and haven't been back unless. and
I'm
nothing
asking
has
like on
expired,
our Getman.
We never came before the board.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, he was on.
3 times.
He would be
Right.
fine.
You're talking
He would
about
be fine.
dancing,
The reason,
Yeah.
the reason why Getman hasn't been back is because he hasn't given me a site plan yet.
But that's not.
Yes,
it, is
and
it?
I'm supposed to.
He
be
would-
I guess my
have
question
to be
is-
doing some research
He
on
comes
that.
back, okay.
My question is,
ultimately-
if he comes back, are we taking him?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, we would.
Yeah.
yes,
I forgot he was
and
here.
because the board is being
Already
more
started
generous,
considering.
you know, even though you haven't had a public hearing yet, you're good.
Yeah, no, I'm
You
talking
know?
about, because I know that it says, as long as you've been on the agenda, you've had conversation, that's fine. But people who have gone away for,
They're
there's
in
could
play.
be people
they're-
that have gone away for more than a year that we forgot.
But if
They're-
they're
they're
not
on the
stale, they get 2 years, right?
Yes.
If they were
So
on
if
the
they're not
agenda,
stale,
And
they're
they haven't
still in.
withdrawn.
So 2 years is the key number.
as long as they were on the agenda, if they just had a discussion.
Years from the
Right.
date they were on the agenda. 2 years from the day
I
they were on the
think the
agenda.
date that the application was.
They don't have
Applications.
Yeah, we went through this with Jerry. We were looking.
So Mark, it's not discussions or. Right.
Exactly,
It's, you gotta be at a meeting.
correct.
Okay? So if you had a pre-meeting with me.
No.
No, you're not at the board.
You have to have been
Had to
on an
have been on an
application and
agenda.
actually.
And
You
yes,
showed up.
presented at a meeting.
All right, I'm finished with my comments, and I'll be quiet.
Okay, so I have kind of 2 levels of comment. My main comment is that I don't like this as a general idea. I don't think that the magnitude of the zoning code changes that were presented by the CRC are such that they warrant this full moratorium. I mean, that's my main comment. I also think it's way too long. I know they limit it to a maximum of a year, but I think 180 days plus 2 90-day extensions, like, I just think that's too long. I also think, so that's my general comment. It's like, my general comment is opposition to this action broadly. My more specific comments, the first is that I find the way this is written to be thoroughly confusing. It's very unclear to me what's allowed and what isn't allowed, and I read it twice, and I think maybe this board knows, like, I'm fairly adept at reading technical language, and I'm confused pretty thoroughly by this. Specifically, I don't understand why you have section 5 prohibited actions followed by exemptions. Why not just merge those 2 and just say once what you're not allowed to do? That's first comment of substance. The second comment is some of the exemptions I didn't get. The one that I found most perplexing was applications for zoning district changes are exempt. If anything's gonna be moratoriumized, I would think it ought to be applications for zoning district change, because that's one of the key things that the ZRC recommended was amendments to zoning districts. Which is
Where do you see the zoning districts?
Number 2.
Number
2.
C2.
That is
It's part of the
only for
EEO.
EEO.
That's
Yeah,
what we should
because
do.
we- or for inclusion, it's any application to the town for zoning district change or for inclusion in EEO. The
Yeah, I
first
think
part
that-
of that
yeah, that may not be-
doesn't seem appropriate to me.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the waivers section. So first you have prohibitions, then that's significantly pared back with exemptions. And then you have this section 7 waivers, which was for me the most inscrutable part of this, like one, kind of my first order issue with this is that it requires the town board to grant a public hearing to every application they receive for a waiver within 45 days, and then they have to decide within either 45 days of that hearing or 30 days of closing the public hearing. So you have a 90-day turnaround for every single waiver that comes in. There's no option to just reject the waiver out of hand. Like that just seems,
That's New York State case law.
but it just seems like, why are you doing?
Doing that because that's what the New York State courts have said, yeah.
You have to grant, you have to hear every
Yeah.
waiver.
Yes. Now, I can also tell
And is
you,
this,
in
is
30
all
years
this
of doing
language of
this,
basis for waiver also from case law?
yeah, I believe it is.
Because it's so
Is it?
vague.
It looks like it's cut right out of the law book.
I will tell you,
It just seems bizarre.
Yeah, that's why.
I've been doing this
That's
for
my
30
point.
something years. I've had so many moratoriums.
Yeah.
Once ever have I had seen a request for a waiver.
A
over
request for
30
a waiver.
years. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that
Which
is
doesn't
neither
mean you
here
won't
nor
get
there.
14
We're
on
gonna
this
get
one.
3 of them then, yeah.
If that's case law, if this is all just like you have to put
Yeah,
it in
these
there,
are,
then
yeah,
There are very specific
Then I'll take
requirements,
away-
so
yeah.
I read,
to be able to request. a
I read the
waiver, right?
Department of State's like 20-page thing on land moratoriums, and I did not pick up that there was such a big thing about waivers. But anyway, I don't know about that. But I found the waiver thing very perplexing. It seemed like I could go and say, it seemed like you didn't need much of a reason to get a public hearing. And it also was pretty unclear on what basis. It was like it was like hypothetical stacking in order to deny a waiver. It was like the hypothetical harm to the applicant by not being granted a waiver has to be greater than the hypothetical benefit to the town by not granting the waiver. It's like bizarre. And I didn't know if that's case law, then I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue with the state courts on that, but I just, if that wasn't case law, I was just like, what is this? It seemed bonkers. So anyway, my main comment is I think this board should, I'm supportive of the zoning changes being considered, but I am personally opposed to this moratorium specifically as it's drafted, because I think it's very confusing and it's like both excessively narrow. Like I actually think it probably doesn't ban enough things. And at the same time, it seems like it's like banning more. It's like both to me feels too broad and too narrow at the same time, which to me is like, what are you doing? Maybe rework it and it would be better. Anyway, those are my comments. I'm not gonna press any more than that.
I have to be honest with you, I don't know how to put that in mind. But we'll talk about that when we get into these comments. Sorry,
Okay,
you don't have 2 pages, do you? I see you.
He does, yeah, he's right.
yeah, but
But he's prepared. I would just step
I
around.
don't know,
Just a
I
list
wrote
of
I wrote it probably a few weeks ago. Section, it probably to my old, section 2, authority intent. It's, I don't, my question is, can a local law supersede the state law? Yes.
Yes.
Shouldn't the paragraph state the local law just suspend?
No.
Supersede it?
Yeah.
Yes, and
Temporary?
not every,
Here, I'll email this to you.
you'll see in the beginning of our zoning code right now, it says certain
Supersede?
things
Yeah.
are being superseded.
Okay, fine.
Not every state law can be superseded,
All right.
but many can, including.
So,
But not by a simple resolution, only by.
Give
Right,
authority,
right, right.
gives authority to the locality. So going back to, okay, local rulings in life. Okay, fine. Section 4. Paragraph C. My comment is the above paragraph is very confusing. Number 1, before the codes are adopted, aren't the codes already adopted? And the matter is about their revision.
So where are you? I'm sorry. You said
Section 4, item 2, paragraph C.
Paragraph 2.
C.
In the finding,
In the finding.
You find it.
this is saying that
The
there's
zoning changes
existing,
basically.
yeah, they're talking about they're saying there's existing laws,
Mhm.
they're considering changes. If they're about to do the changes, but the old rules are still in effect without there being a pause period, a moratorium.
So they're talking about revised code.
Yes.
Yeah,
Revised code, not, that's what my.
which is part of why, what I was saying is like, I don't think they're making enough change here. Like, these are largely tweaks around the edges.
And then
And
my,
this is acting as if there's
another
no
question
rules.
to the same paragraph, what are the updates 2009, 2014? Nothing prior to this paragraph mentions those updates.
That's just the history. If you look at the
History,
revision
yeah,
history of the
yeah.
code.
But somebody who's
Totally
reading
done.
it, somebody from outside reading it, they have no clue about specifics. Okay, then the same section, paragraph number E, or letter E. Should there be some elaboration related to that paragraph, so a reader gets some clarity what the changes and the amendments were about?
Saying
It's
it's
a
unclear.
paragraph
Change
listed.
in 2009, they adopted the new subdivision and zoning codes. That where you're
That's
looking
where
at?
I'm-
No, then it continues after this were a few with local law 1/2014 with substantial changes being made.
Yeah.
The zoning code has been amended with LL3, LL3, LL4, and so on. But what's it about?
Well,
You could look it up.
It's
It's in the
right, you
zoning
can look it
code.
up. It's just giving a history of zoning.
Okay, okay, fine. Then I and J. In the period from January 2021 to date, then J, in the period from January 21 through current date, my question is, as a reader, what is the significance of the fact listed above?
I share that question. There's
I
no
think the
context.
significance is there's lots of people coming in wanting to do things.
Yeah,
That's why we need a pause. Because
need
you're not,
someone
you
famously
can't
said,
do a
compared to what?
moratorium
But-
unless you show the need because there are many applications.
But Zorian's point, and I agree with it, is, as Nina Simone said, compared to what?
Yeah, there is no. What is the significance of those parts? You say, all right, because of so many.
All right, I get it.
Okay,
It's like
section,
29 applications, maybe we got 37 here before.
and section number 7, waiver B. But I guess you answered my question again. It says, status quo pending completion of the comprehensive plan. My question is, comprehensive plan is already completed. Need to read it to send
Well, you
question
just,
mark.
So
on
I
the
guess,
comprehensive plan, you guys just looked at changes they want to make and said, and recommended them. Comprehensive
okay.
plans are changed all the time. They're looking to change it now. So that's, they're saying that's one of the.
Okay, but
reasons.
again, it's a revision of comprehensive plan, not the comprehensive plan itself. That was my question.
yeah, this was a cut and paste job, I think, and it could be
Okay,
tweaks in fact.
that's all. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, I think it was a good attempt, to disagree with you, good attempt to deal with what appears to be an excessive number of applications as opposed to other years, applications and contracts.
Would the percentage of increase?
And the desire is to step back and take an opportunity to make the changes that are necessary.
Yeah, but make it some kind of.
I wasn't asked to wordsmith it. I don't disagree with you. That's why I didn't read that, but I went right. Because we're gonna do the findings. The findings are just meant to protect you in court, so that's some
I'm
all the
just
way.
saying, here's why we're doing it.
So here's what we're doing. All the other stuff, you're right, is a little bit of fill. Some of it was in there because it was required by law to put it in there. You can-
No,
blah, blah, blah,
I
blah, blah.
understand, but
That's why I said I thought the meat was.
I
section
approaching
5,
it
6,
from
and 7.
a point of view radio citizens. They got it done, and they start reading.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's fair.
Jack,
I do want to agree with Sam. I do think that it is a long period of time to have the moratorium in place. 180 days, I think is respectable, but with the option of the 2 extension periods, I think that that's too long in the event of us taking advantage of those extension periods. Because the longer we drag this out, we're just going to have the same amount of applications in front of us again, if not more, because everybody's waiting. I do want to clarify for the section 5, letter E, dividing a single parcel into 3 or more parcels, so can you do up to 3 or you can only do 2?
You can only do two.
Okay, that's for my understanding. And that's all that I have to say.
Mark, I think you covered yours or not?
Oh, no. I'll be very quick though. Me and Charlie Fisher, the only one who comes to the town board meeting, so everybody has had the opportunity to speak their piece about the moratorium, as I have made it many times. Although I totally agree, I think the moratorium does not cover what needs to be covered, and it's very confusing. If the town board would have passed the ZRC comments that came in front of them 16 months ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. So in my ideology, I think that the moratorium is needed just because of the situation we're in, but otherwise, I don't have any further comments.
To clarify, you think it's not broad enough that it should prevent more things?
I think that the moratorium isn't even needed if we would have done what we should have done 16 months ago.
But it is needed.
But it is needed now
It should
because
be.
they're asking for 180 days and 2 90-day waivers. I don't know if they can even get it done and then.
Oh, I see, you're saying the time period might not be sufficient.
I think that if they would just vote the ZRC's comments in,
That's one thing.
we don't even need to have the moratorium. But because they're not willing to do that, we need the moratorium so that they can take as much time as they need to go through it and make a sound decision.
Did you also have a comment on this, like the scope of what's being prevented by the moratorium or no?
No, I think that
Your Honor, I
any,
object, he's leading the witness.
No, I just wanted, I thought.
any moratorium, I think in this case is necessary because they haven't, they're behind the act.
I thought I.
They need to, as I said in my comments, which are public record of public comment, they need to act instead of reacting, which they have a very good habit of doing.
Did Martin have any comments?
Marn's comments are, we answered the 4,000 square feet question from Mary Lou, and exemption C1, can we make that as of this meeting?
No.
Otherwise, Marn and I are good.
I agree with Mark. In a general way, we need breathing space and to let the reality of what's going on catch up with where we are in our statutes. The statute going back to whether because the town board has been reluctant to go through and pursue the changes that were recommended and necessary 2 years ago. You know, the 180 days and the 290 days extensions, but the six months is kind of a standard moratorium. We went through this in Rhinebeck. 6 months is pretty much where the breathing room that the towns are allowed. I don't know about the 290-day extensions, but to your point,
Couldn't get it done in 16 months. How are they gonna do it?
How quickly things have been done so far, they may be necessary. But I mean, those, from my understanding of reading this, the extensions, if they're not needed, will not be implemented. Correct. So they really, we can say that, all right, we don't like the idea, but if you guys can't get your act together, we still have the opportunity to have the time to move the process forward. Or if they actually get it done, then we can just ignore it. Actually, from what I read, from what I was understanding, you don't even need to have the full 180 days if they get the shit together.
Correct.
Right.
So
Right.
you may not.
But they need
you
a
may not-
deadline, so that
That's
180
exactly it.
days is like,
Yeah,
I feel like, well, we have
Once
90 days
once we
now.
have, it's sort of like our end of the month meetings. We schedule them, but then you can always, we can say we don't need to hold it.
I guess, where's 16 months coming from?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was
16.
presented in either July or August.
September
I
of
know-
20?
No, it's
The date I have? What is it?
No, I know it was like
September of
21.
21. Okay. I stand
Yeah.
correct.
So I mean, it's been many months, but I just we're in a
Okay.
public meeting. I want to make clear,
It was
it's
going
not
on,
been
Right.
16 months or 2 years.
it may have been worked on for 16 months.
Right, they worked on it for
They
a
worked on
very
it for
long.
quite a while.
I mean, it was at least a year.
I stand corrected
Oh,
if the date is wrong, but
I do think, I do, thank you. I think-
to correct myself, it's still longer than it should have been.
I think it's 16 months since the formation of the committee.
There you go.
Right,
It's more than that.
I think it's more than that, yeah.
16 is a great number.
All right, so
Is somebody preparing something
I
for
think
the
the
town?
consensus
I
is,
guess, so let me tell you what I heard, as opposed to what you
yeah,
heard.
go ahead.
What I heard was a wide variance of opinion, both in terms of how the thing was crafted, the wordsmithing needs to be improved. That ain't gonna happen. It's your stuff. Everybody has a different way. There are some things that need to be clarified. And I think what we heard today was, go for it. And another opinion is like, you don't need to do this. There's a different way of doing it. We can just get to implement the CRC, whatever it was, whatever the acronym was, just start implementing them. And some questions about, is it really as bad as you're making it out to be? I was a little bit thrown off by numbers also, only that there may have been that many applications, but I don't think many of the applications were withdrawn, but I'm not gonna nitpick about it. Here's my problem, madam. The comments are great. I respect everybody's opinion. I'm of the opinion we should go forward, let it go forward with it and do it quickly and rather than 2 months with it. Nitpicking little bits and pieces of it. But I don't know how to put that, everybody's specific comments in a document. It could take me the next 3 weeks to get it right and have everybody review it. So my preference is tomorrow to send an email and am I allowed to do this as per state law or the board? Put together, the board had mixed reviews about it, both in terms of wordsmithing, some contradictions, and the appropriateness of it. Some were for it, some were against it, and then just invite everybody to put their own comments and send them directly to the board as their personal comments, or rather to the
Well, they
town
can
board,
always send their.
as
Yeah, I think we
opposed to
can,
me trying to
But I mean,
capture
well, you
the
can
excellent
see
comments.
how many people want to say go forward, how many, you
Yeah.
can look at the different areas.
I also think, like, I think I was probably the biggest outlier, but I think there's still a lot of consensus, like, the town board moving, if the town board feels this is a necessary step to move forward with these changes, I think everyone here supports the action in that context. I think the biggest technical comment that it seemed like kind of everyone had is that the prohibitions and the exemptions taken together are sort of confusing, and a combining of those two into one, here's what you cannot do, would be much clearer.
I guess
I agree with that.
And I wasn't confused. from reading it.
I think that maybe
So
our
maybe-
letter could be,
Maybe my reading skills are at level.
Maybe you're just, yeah, you're at
at
superstar level.
Fifth grade instead of
Third grade, yeah.
you know, doctorate before or something.
But if everyone agrees with that, I mean, maybe that's just what we say, like, we support the town board moving on these changes. If the town board feels this is a necessary step, we support it. We had some concerns about the clarity of the prohibitions and the exemptions. Perhaps
I
the
think
town
that's
board
great.
would consider consolidating this into a single list of prohibitions.
So that's all you're really looking for.
Yeah,
we're
that's
just
what
looking to clean it up.
Yeah,
It's confusing. You need to read it twice.
and then the
I get
only
it.
exemption that I had an objection to specifically was the exemption for zoning district changes. Like, that just seemed
Yeah,
like probably
I
an
see what you're
oversight.
saying, for sure. And I don't, yeah, that may have been.
But all the other exemptions, it's like, that's fine. But then you have to, like, we all know the code really well, so maybe it makes sense to us. Oh, they're saying this, but not that. But even we all have questions.
Sam, would you? I'm not gonna want to-
Sure, I'll do it.
Would you do it? Because I'll be quite honest, my capacity for doing it.
When do I have to get it?
In a
together
short
by?
enough time frame. to get
Tomorrow.
to town board.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, they're they're just a couple
Tonight.
paragraphs from now.
You know, like our meetings.
It's their-
But
their next public
what I
hearing.
understood is
Wednesday.
So let me just double check.
prohibited, I understood
Yeah.
Sam, you know, you can always.
Doesn't have to
use
be
just
in
not-
for the next meeting.
Yeah.
No, they don't, it's just a public comment. They just have to get it before the meeting.
That'll be good.
Okay.
Well, you know, what day did we get it? Because technically, we have like 30 days to get it.
We got it.
I know the town board is waiting for us. I know that. They've asked,
They want-
they've mentioned we want 2 meetings.
They
I don't know
sent
what
us
it
the
is.
letter. The letter we received from them was dated April 11th.
So you have 2 days.
Well, officially, but they don't have a meeting.
Right, you have 2 days. They can throw it out if it's later than that, but I don't think they
No,
will,
they,
you know, and their meeting is the 26th. And I think they do have comments have to be in prior to 3 o'clock.
I think in theory, they can close their public hearing at their next meeting because they'll have.
Right, the time
And they
limit
might
there.
vote, or they,
Yeah.
or they might kick it down the road again.
Public hearing open,
Still.
Yes,
It is still open.
Yeah.
Public hearing.
So I will draft something. I'll try to do it, but before the 11th. And I have the letterhead, so if everyone's okay with that, I can just send it.
I trust you.
you guys should probably vote on that.
You
Make a
want to
motion
have, you
do
want
it
to have
since-
us look at it, or you don't?
I can circulate it. I can send it to Nicole, and then Nicole can send it to.
How about you just circulate it to us, but send it and say, this is what I've sent, so at least we have an idea of what you're sending.
I can send it to Nicole.
Why don't you send it to me?
But
and
Nicole can submit it to the town board
I'll
on our
send it and
behalf,
be-
but send it.
Carbon copy.
Yeah,
There you go.
Look at that.
I BCC everyone just to be safe.
Sam, when you send it to me, or would you send it to me?
Okay, so the motion
Just send it
is
in.
for Sam to write the letter to the town board, utilizing the
Qualified
points that
support.
he just
I'll
outlined to the board.
second that motion.
Well, let's
Well,
go
Mary
further
Lou
with the
can't make
motion.
I'll make. the
Right,
motion.
somebody else should first it.
I will,
I'll
make the motion.
Oh.
Have Sam write up the paper.
Okay, well, second.
Oh, my goodness,
Right,
good.
Everybody else.
Are you gonna fight over? it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Sam, when you send it to Nicole, you
Send it to you. Local law 1/B.
ADU.
Yeah. One. C.
Let's go around the table, and quickly give you mine. quick.
on what topic?
Look,
On
ADU.
Oh, I got pages.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Then you're
serious.
right.
I don't know what I am.
All right.
I think anything that we can
Hold on.
do- Hang on, let Rick go first. Anything that we can do to create additional opportunities for quote unquote housing and accessory dwelling units is one of them. I think it's too big, and 900 square feet, up to 900 square feet is too much. And I know that the town board went back and forth for quite a while on many points, including this one. And my rationale would be, I lived in an 800 square foot apartment for 4 years. And that wasn't an accessory dwelling. It was pretty comfortable for one person. And even for a second person, we didn't have a second person, but if I had a kid, it would be very, very comfortable. So it's almost as if going up to 900 square feet, you're really putting that two-family home, not an accessory dwelling unit. And we have a separate code for two-family home. That's really, I'm for it, but I just think that they went too large. Maren did do some research, maybe she gave it to you also.
I have it.
Mark. She did do some research. She said she did it around the area and also some institute sort of information. And she came up with a number of 35, there should be a 35%, which typically uses 35% of what the median square footage is of a single family home. And it comes out to about 700, about 800 square feet as opposed to 900. So I agree. I think 900 is too big. Anything less than that, fine. I was thinking more in terms of 700, 740. That's pretty much what I lived in, and it was very comfortable. Anything more than that seems a little bit excessive. Patrick, you want to? No. Any comments?
On the ADO.
Not really. Okay. Mark,
I'll go first and then remarks.
or whatever way you want to do it.
So I think this should not be allowed in a historic or business district. I don't see any purpose of a historic district or a business district. I do not see that there's any benefits to an accessory dwelling unit in a historic district.
I agree with that.
There's no benefits. In a business district, I realize that there are homes in a business district. And that's why we have a zoning review committee who can go through that process and see how that works. But I do not think that there should be, in my opinion, a mother-in-law suite or some sort of a dwelling where someone would be occupying in a business district. I just don't feel that it's in favor. The other thing is I do not think that there should be a minimum square foot requirement. We're asking for 350 square feet. I don't know why. If I want to have a small dollhouse that's 20 by 10 and it's 200 square feet and I want to live in it, that's my prerogative. And I don't think that we should have a minimum. And I totally agree that the maximum should be significantly in my purview. And then I'll read Martin's. I think that it should be 10% less than the smallest manufactured home you can order.
Which
You can, whatever it is, whatever at the time is that you can order a manufactured home, that it should be 10% less than that. So if it's 70, because single wides should not be considered an accessory dwelling. And somebody's going to literally drag in a single wide as an accessory dwelling, and that is what we're trying to avoid. Yes, it meets density. Yes, it meets setbacks. Don't care about that. It's the appearance of our town, and a single wide should not be drug in on somebody's parcel next to their house so they can rent it. That's my opinion. So I am proposing 10% less than any manufacturable sized home. Somebody wants to take a shed and convert it, fine. But a manufactured home that's on wheels or could have been on wheels at one time should not be allowed.
Mary Lee, you were very involved listening to the debate.
Is it single wide?
Single wide?
I don't know whether it did or not.
Okay.
I was at some, but not.
Okay.
What's that? I didn't hear. I'm sorry. What's that?
No, I asked.
Okay.
Actually, Mark might know. Mark was it.
What's the question?
Did they,
Yeah.
was there a lot of debate about the
Did they
presence or
talk
absence of
about
single wide?
They talked about trailers, campers, RVs, which some people were in favor of and some people were not. And then when the topic of conversation came up about manufactured homes, it was discussed that the median apartment size in the United States is 882 square feet. And although that is bigger than the smallest manufactured home, I think that somebody who is living in an ADU, and again, we need to think about what an actual ADU is. It is a space for someone to occupy because they are unable to take care of themselves. They need constant care, whatever the purpose of it is. Right, if I wanted to move somebody on my property because I'm going to take care of them, but they can live on their own. Otherwise, we have density requirements in the town where they can build a second house if they want on their property. They can have a multifamily. The purpose of an ADU is not to, in my opinion, to drag something in or to build something for them just to rent out. It shouldn't be the same size as your current home. It shouldn't be, I know somebody said, oh, as long as it's smaller than a stamped engineered plans of 1,500 per the town code, it's fine. No, because you might have a 1,200 square foot house and now you're building a 1,500 square foot ADU. We're defeating the purpose. So I think 10% less than any manufactured home that you can order is a realistic number. With an apartment size in the US median average of 882 square feet, we need to be significantly less than that. This is not for an apartment rental. And I know that at one time the town board was considering, well, it can only be one bedroom. It shouldn't even have a bedroom. It should just be an open space where you are occupying it. If you want to have a wall up to have some privacy, that's fine, but the privacy should be for yourself. You're the only person living in it. So,
But they're not
No,
for
but you're
just
talking
one
about-
person to live in. That was their point, that you might have parents and a child, so you want.
at 500 square feet, you shouldn't have that. That's not what an ADU should be utilized for.
We
That
go
should
on
be,
to, everyone can have their comment.
right,
and if we
that's
don't
what an
have
apartment is
consensus-
used for. Have a 2-bedroom apartment. You want to have a parent and a child in a kitchen.
So what, is that all of your comment?
Those are mine. On Martin's, it's, here we go. The second document is an embarrassment. It's too diluted over the first document. It is unclear as to how clearly incidental and accessory is legally defined, enforced, and determined. It is a lot clearer in the first version. The same size or 900 square feet contradicts this. Two dwellings at 900 square feet is pretty hard to make one clearly accessory. Number 2, not allowed as part of a new building. Number 3, number G is a successor owner deed covenant clause needed. ENG, what happens when property transfers ownership? Does this need to be codified? It's better in the first draft. The second draft is weak.
What was the thing? Sorry, can
Sure.
you just go back because you are reading them quickly like Lauren wanted. But
Yep.
what did she say about E?
Uh,
Was there
E is
something
not
about
allowed as part of a new build, question mark.
E? Okay,
So you wouldn't.
she's just asking, can you build as
Correct.
part of a new build?
house and put
it out.
Right, because originally the town board said somebody could go in and build an accessory dwelling first, then build their house while they're living in their accessory dwelling, but it wouldn't change because the first is the actual gonna be the house, and then the second construction will be the accessory dwelling. You need to flip that, and you should have to build your house first and then build an accessory dwelling.
And then, so then the next comment was on G.
Correct. Is a successor or owner deed covenant clause needed?
Okay,
Number 4, do we need an affidavit of residency?
okay.
Number 5, no new curb cuts should be kept. No new curb cuts should happen. I agree with that. I do not think that's more like a multifamily. You're gonna have two apartments for 2 driveways. That shouldn't be that way. It should be 1 curb cut. The maximum gross floor area, see spreadsheet, that's what we talked about with the 882 median apartment size. An accessory dwelling shall contain a minimum of 350 square feet and shall not exceed the gross floor area of the principal dwelling unit or 900 square feet, whichever is less. It should say no, a 35% max of the same existing house. So the ADU should only be 35% of what the existing house is.
With no maximum. If she doesn't
That
say.
is the max.
Right, but like if
So if
you
you're
have
building,
a,
if you have a 1,000 square foot house, you're only gonna be able to build a
for you have a
350 square
10,000
feet,
foot house, you can build a 3,500.
up to 900 square.
Oh, I
feet.
see. She has-
She's saying that with the rezoning all the districts to this level of density will overburden our resources and we'll need an actual police force. Number 8, essentially making new zoning everywhere, could have 2 single wides on every lot with it writing as such, as I mentioned. To allow the conversion of existing accessory dwelling units under 750 square feet to ADUs, and to allow for conversion of space within or attached additions to existing homes not to exceed 900 square feet, or, here you go, Sam, 35% of the dwelling, whichever is less. The definition of existing structure is also proposed to be those on the tax rolls for at least 5 years from the date of application. There will eventually be a building problem with lack of water, septic, emergency services. The planning board is inundated with inadequate septics as we are. We are specializing in raised beds and engineered systems these days. While the Ulster County Department of Health may approve well and septics for each ADU, and this is specified in the draft language, the problem is that the Department of Health does not look at a cumulative effect of a lot of them together, which eventually caused the problem in the aggregate. Maren thinks that it should be allowed in the historic districts, against my thought of not having it in historic districts.
What is
Are you talking Hamlet district?
what is historic district?
Because I don't know.
Anything labeled
Oh, you
in
have
the
registered.
H district.
There are.
It's an overlay?
No, there's an
No.
H district.
I thought H was Hamlet.
Eight is Hamlet,
H is
not
Hamlet.
historic.
We don't have a historic.
No, we don't have a historic
Yeah,
zoning
historic.
district. We do have
We have a
nationally
historic,
designated historic districts. In Alligatorville, in Accord.
Right, hang on a second, maybe this explains it. The first draft talked about
You're talking about
that
state
it
recognized.
they
historic.
could, section L,
State or
they
national.
could exist within an area that was national estate registered historic
That's
district.
like Rest Plows, Hamlet of
Exactly.
Accord.
Right.
Right,
Alligatorville.
Alligatorville.
in my opinion, those, you should not be allowed an ADU. In Maren's opinion, you should be allowed to
I
have
just
an
wanted
ADU.
to understand what you were
Historic
both
versus
talking
Hamlet.
about, the class usage of that.
And additionally, she's saying that there should be some historic protections in the historic district, so that it should have to go in front of the historic.
The second
committee.
draft, of it, they got rid of all the.
It should be added back.
All right.
That is Maren.
Zach,
I'm gonna start out by agreeing with Maren. I do believe that it should be allowed in historic districts. you have a historic home for say, and you want to put an ADU there and you're not disturbing the historical building, I think that you should be allowed to carry through with that. I also agree with Mark. I do not think that an ADU should be classified as a manufactured home, no single wides. I even want to say no double wides for that too. Anything brought on wheels, no recreational vehicles, no campers, no yurts, tents, whatever. I think that those should not be classified as ADUs. That's all.
Sorry.
Okay, I agree with the limit of maximum. 35 like a minimum. 35% as a minimum, but what is it, 900 is.
So 35% of your total square footage or 900 foot maximum,
Right.
whatever is less.
That was it, right. Okay, so that's what we meant. And with historical, I think yes, in historical house or property, you have to go through the review of whatever the board in town.
So you support having it, but you want it to be reviewed by
Right.
the historic
Right.
preservation.
HPC.
Anything else, Ray?
No.
Sam?
So I'm very supportive of this law as written. I do also have comments, though I think almost every single one of my comments goes in the opposite direction of the rest of the board. So it just, they probably won't end up in our letter. So one is section G, owner occupancy. I think that should be deleted. I just don't support it. I don't think it serves the purpose of the law. I also think it brings up the problems of, covenants and things changing hands in the future. One of the stated goals is to create more rental properties. So I just don't see I oppose G. I also oppose there being a maximum floor area. I
Maximum
think
what?
floor area. I think having it be less than the principal dwelling unit is appropriate, but I'm opposed to there being any cap on that. Again, for the purpose of renting, families being able to live there. I don't think people are going to build huge ones, but if it's less than the main house, I think it's okay. I also am not a huge fan of limiting the number of accessory units per parcel. I think as long as you have density for a house, you should be allowed to have an ADU that's paired with that house. And then L, the water system stuff. I know that was recently added, but the water system shall connect to the system of the principal dwelling unless there's, I just think that that's unnecessary hurdles to jump over.
Do you think they should drill another well?
I think it should be up to them. I think if you drill another well or tie in, whatever's appropriate, but whether it's one well or two doesn't make a difference for usage. And I also oppose N, the cap of accessory dwelling unit permits. I don't like, the town board seems to like putting in these, like, we reserve the right to turn this on and off at our discretion. I just don't like that. I think it's bad law writing. And I just don't like it. I think if they want to have a cap, they should put a cap on, like, but I would oppose the cap too. Like, but I think they should either do it or don't do it. I think the only place where I agree is, I guess I do. I mean, it sounds like the board is split on this, but like, I agree with maybe preserving the historic district by saying no ADUs.
So once
That makes
again,
sense to me.
we once again
Very
have-
split.
have a lot of consensus on it.
Well, I think everyone
It seems
supports
to me, it seems to me that, some of the things I heard tonight makes me wonder, do I really support it? And it drives me to ask the question, what the hell are they doing? Why would we want to do an accessory dwelling? Is it to take care of the existing people in the area? Or is it just to attract other people to the area who can't afford single-family homes? There aren't enough apartments, and so this is an alternative. So which is it? So I worry about that, and I'm for both, but I think we should take care of the people that are here first. We also have a concern with the comments made about water. You know, at some point, you keep bunking down wells. And I've been in a community where they were forced to go to a community water system, and that was the end of zoning. Zoning had to change to make it capable of having more homes to support the septic and the water system. So before you knew it, instead of there being 1 acre zones, there was quarter-acre zones. And that's when I left that community because it was not what they wanted. And so having something, I'm exaggerating for purpose, but having something like that is not the character. I don't believe it's the character that the existing members of this community want. Could be wrong, but so it's always, in my view, accessory dwelling units. I look at it as mother, essentially a mother-daughter. I haven't thought about the double wides, single wides, everything on wheels, yurts and all that. It's like, no, why would you allow
Says
that?
it has to have a foundation.
Why would you allow that? Yeah, you have a foundation.
More than enough mobile homes parked next to houses. I mean, it's drive up.
I'm just saying that
And who's gonna enforce it?
saying the
People are
law
living in their
as
sheds.
written requires a foundation, which doesn't mean it can't be manufactured, but it does
You
mean
can still
that it
have
can't be a
manufactured.
You
trailer.
still gotta have a slab on it.
But that's not a foundation.
What do you mean?
Or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no,
It's
it's,
a foundation.
yeah, you still have to have frost walls and meet the setbacks and the, yeah. that's-
So I'm not sure.
When I lived in a double wide, it was parked on a slab, which is not a foundation.
What do you mean by a slab? Poured concrete?
But it was a
Yeah.
trailer sitting
And
on
you could then
blocks
move
on a
it
slab.
later.
That is
not a
considered, that is considered a foundation.
So maybe what we should say is that they should clarify that. Because I think there's
Foundation means it has
I
it
think
meets the
that's-
town's requirement for something to be level and for something to be sitting on it or parked on it. So like you could have, like our guy on Van Tine Road who did the subdivision with the application where he had his camper, he had a slab. in it,
But I
which
guess
was
the
considered a
question,
foundation.
if that's considered a foundation, then I support specifically prohibiting trailers. My understanding is that's not a foundation, but that's based on a layman's understanding. of what
Sure.
a foundation is.
According to Jerry, you have to have 4-foot frost walls for any dwelling, whether it's drug in or not.
What is a 4 foot? That means that the
Yes,
concrete goes
yes.
down
It's
4
like
feet.
4 foot filled with stone, covered.
But then if it's just sitting on there, not anchored to it, it's just sitting on blocks.
Correct.
That
Most
counts as a
most
foundation.
single wides are. Thankfully, they have skirts around them,
Well,
so you
but that's
can't see
why-
the blocks.
So that maybe should, yeah, I don't know.
So
They just cut the wheels off.
Right, that's when I lived in one summer in college, that's what it was, and they could put the wheels back on.
Yeah,
because
just
Right.
weld them back on.
I don't know, that's a question, then, share that question.
well,
Okay, so you're okay.
But it definitely can't be a tent.
I mean, people live in their shed right now. There's no foundation on those.
Well, people doing things that are not legal is a separate question.
People are always.
do you have any comments?
Airbnb, you're all the time.
You're staying clear.
Rick, I have one more note after this.
Say that again?
I have one more note once ADU. I have one more note.
But I'm not a resident of the town.
I have one more
I'm here
note
just
once
to read it.
ADUs are over. From Mark.
Passing along.
Does everyone support this law in general? Because maybe that's all, if there's consensus on that, then we can just say
I
that.
don't see anybody opposed.
Support it in general, but
If
I
you
heard
need an
so many,
ADU,
I had heard so many things tonight, it's like, oh, I wouldn't worry about that. A lot of the things that you mentioned, it's like, no, why would we have a single one? And why
Right.
would we make it the same, let it be the same size as the
Why would it be
existing
an
dwelling?
accessory?
Come on.
Well, maybe we can say. as
what
the
is an
board-
what is an
What's
accessory?
an
We need to define it. That's
What's
the
an
problem.
ADU?
It's not defined.
So maybe, no, there is a definition. Maybe what the town, maybe what this board can say is that this board is supportive of the adoption of an ADU law. And then if individual board members want to make their own comments.
That's a
we
great
can.
idea. Short and
Did not
sweet.
reach a consensus on.
Yeah,
that
say like,
particular
This
vision.
board does
consensus
agree
on
to have an
Passage
ADU.
of an
Right,
ADU
I'll
law.
write that
It's an easy one.
There were varying opinions.
I will
on
mention some of the specific items so that
various provisions.
both pro and con that we've heard. But I thank you, Will, for your comments. I hadn't thought about a lot of the stuff that I was thinking in terms of the size. I thought it was just too big because of my own experience. And like I said, 800 square feet was more than enough for me. I agree. I could have lived in 400, spent half as much, but I couldn't find something.
It was a
So,
pretty tiny house then.
and what if I didn't have any, I just needed a bed, kitchen, and a TV. That's right, and a bathroom. No, I could have gone to the gym.
Don't you have an illegal ADU on your property?
Do I?
Yeah, don't you have an apartment over your garage?
I do, but I don't use it because it's not legal.
There you go. Oh, sorry.
No, it has water.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have septic, and I don't tend to.
Okay, yeah,
So
He doesn't want anybody living there.
I don't want anybody living
So
there.
it's just an office.
Have you ever tried to get somebody out of it?
Impossible.
I don't want to be part of that. Okay,
All
so
right.
I'll write that, and Sam, I may call you just to get your comments in support of it, that I
Yeah,
don't
I think we-
agree with, but
I don't even know, I think the letter can just say that we support adoption of an ADU law.
I will agree that this needs more work. I don't think the moratorium. Maybe that's because my reading level.
Rick, do you want me to write something up for you for that and then send it to you to?
If you would.
Sure.
Encompass Sam's stuff and everybody else's, that would be wonderful if you could do that.
Sure.
Keep it under a page.
I'll make it like
Under
6
500 words, okay.
sentences, yeah.
That would be great. Okay. We're almost done. What was the other comment you had?
Maren asked if we should go to executive session to discuss the town plan.
The town who?
Planner.
Oh,
I'm just reading your notes.
no.
Does anyone have a motion to go into executive? You have to
I was
motion.
gonna say, have the motion and have to be clerk to discuss
What is it?
personnel matter.
We
We
don't
have
have
a
a person.
particular personnel
We don't have a
matter.
person.
No, it's not a personal issue. It's a,
Well,
No, that,
so I quickly said,
that can't be discussed outside of a public meeting.
there's nothing to discuss.
There's
There's no,
certain
there's
things
no
that can go into
person.
executive
no
session.
input. There's no input, right?
just, I'm reading
No, We're
verbatim.
not gonna go in. We can't.
You have to have a specific.
I know that much about.
There has to be a prior conversation.
But I appreciate your comment.
No, you have to have a
So-
specific, one of 7 specific reasons
Right.
for which an executive session.
It would have to be about, if it's personal, then it has to be about a person. Not.
Well, it's not a personnel issue.
Well, then you're. not-
We can
Well,
talk in a public meeting, we can say that the town board is considering hiring someone to be on staff as a town planner.
Right.
And if we
I'll
want to
read-
talk about
I'll
that
read
in
her notes
public,
if you
Well,
want.
that was discussed in the town board, meeting, so it's not a secret.
Want me to read her notes?
No, because that's what we were
So you're-
discussing.
Well,
in
you know,
executive session.
right.
I said
We're
there
not
is
going
a-
into executive session.
I understand that
Right.
she couldn't be here. I wouldn't have been here as long as she was if I were her, you know.
Let me ask you this.
I'll read it
I
to you.
don't
It
want to
says-
break the chop, but
it
is
says
it general?
It says town planner executive session, but seems to be wavering from the town board that I have watched. Penny wise and pound foolish, does she have a solid say? Those are that's what I have.
Just who's she?
Does she have a solid say? This is in the Mary Lou category of questions.
No.
Do I have a solid say?
I will-
I don't even know what that.
Maybe a
word
solid
means.
say if they're going in that direction.
Town planner.
No, I didn't.
They formed a search committee.
Yeah,
They have a
I was asked to be on it.
I'm
I've
on
said
it as
yes.
well.
They posted a job. They've received applications.
Yeah.
The people on the committee have reviewed the applications. There haven't been
At this point.
any. And there also has not been a
And
discussion.
there's not a decision, they're
There hasn't
definitely
been a
gonna do it
discussion. Right.
or not. It's
Search
it's
committee's
something that
supposed to
they're
talk
looking
about.
at. And that's all been said at town board meetings.
Right.
That's-
And that's all that's happened.
So there's nothing,
Nothing to discuss. Okay.
no, really, it really isn't.
All right, motion to adjourn.
That's.
Wait, we need to talk about the planning board workshop.
Workshop.
You
I think we
one way.
said 20, we're gonna do it on the 24th.
And we talked about having Lucky.
We're only
Two
gonna do
items,
Lucky.
it's Lucky and
And the next referral that
the
we're gonna get.
seeker
from the town board.
lead agency referral. That's it.
Told me to remind you.
Yeah, I mean, he makes the agenda, that's what you guys want on.
All right.
And we'll only have one thing agenda if that's what we need.
No, we're
No, we're-
waiting for the
oh,
other
we
round.
can't.
And if also count, it doesn't count, we don't have it.
Motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry?
If also count, the review doesn't count, we don't have a meeting.
No, we're supposed to do this.
We're getting a referral.
We're getting
on
another referral
On
from the
another
town.
EEO, so we will have the reading.
We're getting it.
No matter what, we're having.
All right, I asked for a motion first.
You
and
have
then
it.
you second it.
Everybody needs.
Aye.
All in favor?
All right.
We're all-
Yeah.